meeting June 17th, Merrimack Conservation Commission to order. Gentlemen, you are here for agenda items, not here for public comment? Okay. All right, so seeing no public comment, no public hearings, no appointments. Statutory and advisory business. So, Mr. Basilman, if you wouldn't mind coming up and just signing in?
I do.
Yeah. This is Basilman's Revocable Trust, wetland permit. We're looking to expand a dock on Natticook Lake. It's in the Aquifer Conservation Districts and Wellhead Protection Area. Just for the record, if you wouldn't mind, just kind of quick overview of the project so it's on record.
Okay. Yep, thank you. I'm Rudy Basilman's at 174 Natticook Road in Merrimack, obviously. And I have a seasonal dock permit that allows me to go 6 by 24. And what I'm interested in doing is having it be 6 by 20, but adding a 6 by 10 piece on the end of it. Right now, my wife and my son like to fish, or I like to sit next to my wife while she fishes. I don't like to fish. But there's not really enough room on a 6-foot wide dock to do that. So if we can make it 12 feet wide on the very end, then we can fish. And or she can fish and I can sit there. And we're interested in putting it on the side in the really shallow part of the water. And that's about it. DES did call. They thought that we could do an expedited submission. And Craig Day said that he wanted to make sure we couldn't put 3 boats on it. So, well, there's not enough depth there for 3 boats, so, and we only have 1. So, I do have a note from my abutter, an email if you're interested, that says that he has no problem with it. He's fine with it. You won't see the extra piece anyway. It's on the other side. And the abutter on the other side is at Town of Merrimack, and that's about 60 feet away.
Is this only going before us, or do you have to go back? Are you going in front of the zoning board or planning board or anything like that?
No, I've already spoken to them. All I have to do is get your permission, then it goes up to Craig Day at DES.
Okay.
And then he will go through the material. He's already looked through it.
And you're looking for an expedited permit?
Yes, if I could. If he thinks I qualify. If I missed that, then tell me.
So the existing dock is, or was suspended from a tree?
Yes, it's been there for like 50 years.
Yeah.
1-inch rusty cables hanging from a tree. And it was to, I assume, avoid having to take it out in the winter. And it also means you don't have to get permission from DES or the Conservation Committee for that.
Yeah.
So it's been there forever. My neighbor's 50 years old. He remembers as a kid it was there already there. So we cut that completely out and then put a dock in to the size. Actually, we only did 6 by 20 right now. If I can't get the permit, then I guess I'll go out another 4 feet and see if I can get a little more clearance to the side of the boat that we currently have. It's a pontoon boat, small one.
So how's the dock supported now?
It has feet and a post, and it comes in the winter.
So it's just standing on the, it's just standing on the lake bed. So it's not, there's no piers into the basin or anything.
No permanent. Nope. It's just little aluminum feet sitting on top of the sand.
So like every dock in the world.
Yes.
Well, removable ones.
Yeah.
Although it's level too.
Yeah.
Most of them on the lake are a little cockeyed.
So this is going to be a seasonal dock. It's going to go in. You're going to take it out.
Correct.
When it gets cold. Okay.
I had to figure that out before I got my last permit, so
Yep.
it's only that deep, so I can deal with that. And I figured out how to do it with 1 person.
Oh, so it's that easy then, huh?
Well, no. They still make some work. It's only 100 pounds, so I can lift it. I can put it on a float, carry it out there, put the pipes in there, and then I can level it, and then put the decking on afterwards, which is another 100 pounds.
No. Anybody else got any questions?
Do you do any disturbance of the lake bed? Do you have to rake any weeds and all that stuff out of the way?
I can do it right on top.
Yeah.
So, there's a lot of sand there anyway, because
Yeah.
it used to be a beach,
Mhm.
so, but now we don't have to do that. The way the feet work is that you've got an aluminum foot and have wide ones, and then
Mhm.
you put the pipe through about 6 inches, so you can just lay it right on top. So, we don't need to do anything.
Mhm. Yeah, so he's not dredging the lake
Nope.
bottom, so.
No, then that, as I said, the pipe just usually sticks through the bottom of the foot a little bit, just so it doesn't
Yeah.
get pushed around on the wind or someone bumps it with a dock, so.
Exactly.
Yeah, you get aggressive with the pontoon boat.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got rid of all our other boats to get the pontoon boat. It's just more practical for fishing and everything else, so.
Yep.
Would you like the permission email as well? Up to you.
Yeah, I mean, we can include it into the permit, but it's, your requirement is to have notified your abutters.
And I did? Yep.
Yeah, and that's already in the permit, so the fact that they're saying it's okay is, that would be a debate in front of the planning board or zoning board or something like that if there was an issue there, so.
Oh, okay, all right.
You've done your part by just the notification. Anyone else have any questions? Okay, so this is an expedited permit. What,
So I move that we authorize the chairman to sign the expedited permit for the Basilman Revocable Trust, yeah, indicating that we, the Conservation Commission, are satisfied with the permit as provided to us.
Second.
all right, any more comments and questions? All those in favor? Andy?
Can I
Alright.
vote?
So what do we,
I didn't
boy,
vote.
where, everyone?
I didn't vote.
Oh, that's right, you're still, that's right, we have enough for your alternate still, okay.
Does my second even count?
Huh? Yeah.
Am I counted tonight?
All right,
Thank you very much.
yeah, so we'll sign this and get it back downstairs into community development.
Okay, so I should go there tomorrow and collect it,
Yes.
or should I just take it from you now?
I have to sign one of them.
You have to
Or
sign
sign all 6, right?
Yeah, you have to sign them all.
If you're okay with that, that'd be great. Thank you.
There's what, 4, right? 4 or 5? 1, 2,
It's at least 5.
yeah. 4. Or 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, that's 6.
Very top of
Is that an
page
aerial
3.
photo of my house?
Huh?
Very
Yeah.
top of
It is?
page 3 looks like you're.
Oh, yeah, you've done a fantastic job with that.
Yes.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, yeah, what a difference from the existing structure that was there.
We stayed in it for 3 months. It was quite entertaining.
You need this back?
No, but I've never seen a picture.
No,
of it.
that's a copy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I've seen that, yep. That was when our garage was completely full. We couldn't park in it to use it. Thank you.
Who owns the parcels in the island?
I own 2/3 of it, and then Courier Farms
Courier
owns
owns the other
1/3.
one, yeah.
And we're talking to the Public Works, possibly changing that because it's actually really dangerous. We have a couple accidents every year that are major. And they want to get rid of triangles because you can't see around them, so. So Couriers and I are talking about what to do with it, so I'll probably buy that piece and then donate it, so, to the town. But the neighbors across the street are concerned. They don't want to be having the kids anywhere in the front yard because it's so dangerous. People go very fast through there and they ignore the stop sign all the time. Thank you for doing that. It's much easier than the permit I needed for my house. That was painful.
Definitely an interesting home. Everyone that I know about commented on your light fixture that you can see prominently through your window for a while.
Did they see it before I put a dimmer on it?
Yeah,
We had to shut it off, it was lighting up the whole street.
Oh, is that the contemporary with the solar panels on it?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I'm dying to go in that house.
I always got a duck, you can go down and fish.
That's right. Bring some beer, you can see the house and go fishing. No problem.
What a price.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Yep.
Cool house.
Does everybody have a copy of the plan, or do you want me to put the board up?
If you wouldn't mind putting a board up, it'd be good, because we may see it, but the cameras can't.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Thank you.
To get it on camera, the best place for it is right there. See if I can set this thing up successfully.
So
She was here today.
Mike voted as a member because you were not here. So now you're here. So now you're going back to being an alternate.
So it was 7-0-0.
There's 7-0-0, but Mike voted and not Cindy. And that, because the next vote's gonna have Cindy in it and not Mike. That's not working at all. It's HVAC.
No.
All right. Good to go.
Yes, please.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Tucker McCarthy. I'm an engineer with Keach Nordstrom Associates. I am here this evening representing the owner of this parcel, Robert Curry. I'm sure everyone is familiar with this property. The address is 2 County Road. It's a beautiful old farmhouse here, and it is the house on the left as you're heading east, right before you cross over the bridge to the Sauhegan River. And what they are looking to do with this parcel is they are looking to subdivide it into 2 lots. So the parent parcel, which is map 3A, lot 65, would retain 6.232 acres of the existing 9.36 acres. The new lot would have 3.12 acres, which is approximately 136,000 square feet. Slightly less than 36,000 square feet of that is existing wetland, so it does leave the required 100,000 square feet of buildable area remaining. The new lot has the required 250 feet of frontage, and it leaves the parent lot with a little less than 515 square feet, so all the zoning requirements are satisfied for this. There are, as you can see on the west side of this property, there is an existing jurisdictional wetland, and that falls within the parcel that will be subdivided off. And we also have some setbacks from the Sahegan River, being in the shoreland, and the existing house is outside of the 250-foot setback. I don't anticipate there's any changes that will be done within that area as part of this. Simply that this additional lot will be likely subdivided, and I don't know if it'll be sold or a house will be built on it. So this evening, we are hoping to get a positive feedback and recommendation by the Conservation Commission, so that we can go forward through the process with the planning board. So if anybody has any questions, happy to answer.
When do you go in front of the planning board?
So we are actually on the agenda for tomorrow night. We actually had a self-discovered issue with the abutter notification. So I think that we were pushed to the next, I think it's actually the first hearing in June. I think it might be June 12th. Don't quote me
July.
on that.
July.
Sorry, yes, mixing up, yeah, July 12th.
Okay. Early in July. You're not tomorrow night.
No,
Okay.
we're not on the agenda tomorrow night
Okay.
anymore. Yep.
I'm curious, where would they, under the lot, or with the wetland setback, where would they, I see you have the area for the proposed sewer disposal. Where would they put the footprint for the house? I don't see it on the.
Yeah, typically we don't show it because there's no developer as part of this. I don't know if it'll be sold. But likely we would be called to lay this out, being that there is, the building inspector would not issue a building permit without knowing that the building was being built outside of that setback, as there would be no, zoning relief that was given as part of that. So I don't know if, anywhere in this area, we show the septic in the back, just because we felt that was the best spot to put it, away from the wetland, in an acceptable area. So depends if somebody wants to build a long driveway or a short driveway, or if, they may, the owner may not want a house right next to theirs, so they may want it farther in the back. I'm not sure. So
Is this gonna be on town water?
yes, it is. Yep.
So the existing house is already on town water? Because I see there's a dug well over there, so that says proposed water service.
Yeah, so as part of this, they're likely gonna connect that house to the water line. Yeah.
So where's the septic area now for the existing house?
That's a good question.
Because you show proposed,
Yep.
the new one.
Yep. I am unsure of that. So a lot of times we don't identify it on there because we don't know exactly where it is. It may be on the area of the new lot that we're proposing, and that's why they would be required to construct a new one.
I'd almost wonder that it's not because of the flood zone.
Yeah, I would think it'd have to be in that high area, across the middle.
Yeah.
On the second sheet, there is a spot for proposed on the.
Right, that's what I'm saying, there's a proposed one, but it's,
Yeah, it may be in that,
I'm-
maybe in that vicinity.
I find it surprising they'd allow them to subdivide the lot if the leach field and septic was in the other lot.
Yeah, and that may be exactly why there's a new, so they would have to build that septic before they would be able to do anything
Yeah.
on the other lot.
I think we'd want to note that.
Yeah.
Are there any other proposed changes for the existing lot?
I believe that the reason that we're connecting the water is, as you know, when you have well setbacks, it's more difficult to locate the septic. So town water is available, so that removes the need to put in wells and setbacks. So I believe the only other change would be connecting the existing house to the town water, and then the new lot would be serviced by town water as well. Other than that, I don't anticipate there you know, there are no proposed changes to that lot at this time. I believe a couple of years ago, they had gone to the zoning board to ask for a wedding venue in the barn that's on the back of the property. That was denied by the zoning board, so it's not in the plans at this time. It's just not allowed use in this area, so.
Is the barn on this?
It's actually attached to the house. Yeah, next time you drive by there, you can see it's a long, skinny, old, beautiful farmhouse. It's like a kind of a dark green color. I'm sure once you drive by, you're gonna recognize exactly what house I'm talking about. Drive by it every day.
Yeah, because we won't, you know, once this passes us and it goes back to planning board, if it gets approved, we wouldn't see this again.
Right.
Because the lot is accepted, so unless they're gonna go for a variance and something that has to do with the water.
Yeah. And we will need state subdivision approval as well, so.
Right. I'm to say, but once they get approved, I mean, has nothing to do with you guys really, but once it gets approval, it wouldn't come back for us again. So if you have questions, now's the time to ask, because this is the only time we're gonna see it.
Yep.
So when you put on things like you've proposed a curb cut where the driveway would go, I mean, how they can move it anywhere they want, can't they, pretty much? It's just you guys are seeing it as a good idea.
Yeah, I mean, there's really not that much space.
Right.
You know, we have this wetland setback, and now I'm actually looking at this. Likely the house will be built on the back of this lot. As you can see, there's this, it's the same dot pattern that the septics are, but you can see there's kind of a strip that goes adjacent to the wetland, and that's floodplain.
Right.
So likely the house would be not,
Well,
unless somebody wanted to play flood insurance,
yeah,
they
but
wouldn't
no,
build
yeah.
it within that, so it's
Did
gonna
you,
be in
did
the
you read
back.
your disclaimer on the flood, though? 0.0,
Yeah,
0.2% chance of flood.
right, yep,
So it's a 1% chance of flood, annual flood chance.
right, yep.
So,
Except for what happened 10 years ago. But
no.
Yeah, so you might be right, they wouldn't actually require flood insurance, but.
Yeah, because the high point of that whole lot is about where you're drawing the new divider line.
Yep. Pretty flat.
No.
yeah, my only comment would be that any improvements in that flood zone be such that it doesn't increase the potential for water to move on to the existing lot.
The existing lot.
Yeah, oh, sorry, the lot furthest
Yeah.
to the east, right?
they'd
Looks
have-
like
Well,
most
the
of that.
existing.
They'd have to pump it. You understand, yeah, I mean, you can see that's the crown, it's basically right through the center of that lot.
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
they'd have to find a way to,
Yeah, all right.
and we should.
Yep.
'Cause, I mean, you put a driveway right through it and
Yeah.
you'd want to provide culverts and everything else to keep the water where it's gonna.
So you're saying that you wouldn't want the driveway to impound the parent lot?
Correct. Yeah,
Yeah.
in case of a high water situation.
Yep.
Any improvements on the new lot,
Yeah.
regardless of what it is.
Sure.
Does it make a difference if the driveway's paved versus not paved?
Well, if it becomes the highest thing through there, then it becomes a dam essentially. So water on one side can't make it to the other, and vice versa. Where there's a wetland there at a low point further to the west, that wetland is ideal for absorbing that flood potential, so.
just by looking at this diagram, it looks like maybe 1.12 acres are buildable. It's just rough estimate looking at it. Looks like 2/3 of the lot is unbuildable.
Yeah, so the new lot will be 136,000 square feet, so 35,569 is wetland, so.
They can build within that floodplain. You can, all right, you're not looking at that large dark line as the,
Okay,
that they can build down into the wetland buffer.
all right, thank you.
They just, the insurance requirements may change. No. Anybody else have any questions, comments?
It's hard without seeing where the house is going. Exactly, you know, it's tough to
Right.
comment.
Yeah, I mean, we could show a building footprint, but
Yeah, it's,
somebody's gonna come
is
in
the
and
builder
build-
gonna respect
Yeah.
it? You'd have no
build
idea.
the house wherever
Yeah.
they want, yeah.
As long as it meets setbacks.
Yeah, as long as they meet setback and anything that they do into the flood zone, that's their issue to deal with their insurance company, so.
Yeah, and likely as a surveyor of record, we would be called out to lay out the house. We do that all
Right.
the time, so. And they may be required to do they probably would be required to do a foundation certification to prove that it was built outside. So we would lay it out, then come back once they poured the foundation to ensure that it was built outside of setbacks and outside of
Right.
the buffer and everything.
All right, well, those are our big takeaways then, is the water flow from the new lot, septic location of the existing house, and town water. And then sometime early July, you'll back in front of the planning board, so.
Yep.
And they'll have our notes, and, because you'll get them out of community development anyways.
Sure. Yep.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much for your time. Appreciate it.
All right. New business, we have a few pages here from the planning board regarding a site plan regulations. They're relighting the site plan regulations, simplify them and make them a little bit easier to follow, and kind of collect all the years' worth of individual little changes, trying to make it a little bit more cohesive document. This is kind of difficult to read without having the entire site plan. So I'm not sure what they really expect us to do with this, other than the fact that the site plan's available off the website. You could go back and match up the sections that they've added and subtracted or modified.
Yeah, I mean, you could bring it up on the screen if we really wanted to, but just thought you'd all like to know that they're adding language relative to low phosphate, slow-release nitrogen. They're adding comments in regards to Snow Pro certification. And then some other little tidbits here and there. So some of our normal comments will be rolled right into the regulations, and all we'll have to do is remind the applicant of those if we choose to do that, so, but they'll have to adhere to them anyways. So, in some ways it'll make our job easier, so. But they're receiving public comment now, so if people are interested in making comments, you can do that as a citizen.
Do we have a date as to when it's supposed to be done by, do you know?
No, I don't know offhand, so.
I know last meeting we were changing up some language where one of the plans that said low phosphate, and we said, no, it should say no phosphate here. This was last week.
Yeah, we typically say that anything that's in the Aquifer Conservation District. Aquifer Conservation Wellhead.
You
So
know,
that being a
their language is
definition.
gonna say low phosphate.
Theirs is.
So if we, as a commission, would prefer them to say no phosphate, then that would be a comment that we might wanna make.
Well, that's why I bring it up.
Yeah.
Because I saw the discrepancy between last week's comments and what I saw in that document.
You're free to make that move.
I mean, I don't pretend to know enough about that. Typically, what you guys have done is, in the wellhead protection district, you've gone with the more stringent requirement.
That or
This
when,
is townwide, what
Yeah.
we're doing.
right.
Yeah,
That and when the property is where it could drain into a river or stream that would then dump into a pond or a lake, something like that. Cause it's the phosphates when they settle into a steady, a pond or a lake, something that's not moving, that's where they help the growth of those
Algae
bad
blooms.
bacterias and other things that you see, and you get the blue blooms, right, exactly, yeah.
I think if
that's going to generate all the pretty color.
we recommended no phosphate in those areas, then I think it would be easier to pick up on that, and I think people would be more inclined to act on that than if it said low phosphate, and we prefer no phosphate in those areas anyway. You know, if low
Well-
phosphate, people are gonna, I think they'll pretty much ignore it.
Yeah, it's pretty low. I can use it.
Yeah.
Does one product
That's what I
cost more than another? Is there an economic penalty to going no phosphate?
It's
Not usually.
Yeah, it's a mix.
it could be harder to find, but I'm not sure, I don't know.
Yeah, so typically we've said no phosphate in wellhead, aquifer, and properties immediately adjacent to water bodies. So,
Horseshoe Pond, we had somebody come in.
Yeah.
And we said no there.
Yeah. so I mean, that's, we've got a couple outliers that, we've got things like Home Depot. We said no, they're using very limited salt and ice melt products up there, because they're in aquifer conservation. Or, yeah, no, they're aquifer conservation.
Yep.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's, there's items like that we kind of stick to as a general rule, but it's just, we know it because we've been sitting here. It's nothing really written down. It's almost our opinion when we go and we ask them to put it on drawings. So that is a chance to put that make it part of a site plan.
I mean, I would think all other things being equal, if it's not gonna cost the developers any more to go that route, then it's the more conservative option for the wildlife impact and ecological impact.
Yeah, I mean, and our take on that, just so everyone understands too, is our take on that is, look, we've always advocated for testing the soil, because there's no need to go out and buy fertilizer if you don't need it. I mean, now you're really spending money you're really just, blowing through cash that you don't need to spend, so.
And adding chemicals that
Yeah.
don't need to be there.
Well, we can find out what when the public comment date is, but it's also, we can make recommendations as a body too.
I mean, the reality is every spot in town's part of some watershed, right? It's gonna make its way eventually.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we're just trying to minimize that, so, I mean, again, it's been aquifer, wellhead, and bodies immediately adjacent to water.
Can we make that recommendation for that wording
Sure.
for no phosphate in those areas?
Yeah, I mean, and again, it's a recommendation.
Yeah.
I mean, and everyone, if they put it in their site plan in that way, then it will become part of their rule base.
So at what point do we go no nitrogen versus slow release nitrogen?
I think we pretty much always ask to slow release nitrogen,
Okay.
just so you don't get the huge green. But that's a preference we've had.
And nitrogen is the most common gas in the air you breathe anyway, so.
Yeah, so, There's plenty of it.
I guess either approach would work, I guess. You could
Yeah, so we can, that's gonna be our one comment so far? Do you want me, if this holds over until our next meeting, which is,
It's like the 15th, right?
something like that. So, it's, oh, July, that's when we typically only have one. The 15th, yep. Let's go, Rain Man. How'd you do that?
Sharon mentioned that
Oh,
in her one of the last emails.
all right. So if it's gonna be, if public comment's not gonna close before the 15th, we can find out, and we can potentially have a discussion on this in July, because we have only one meeting in July. Does that sound like a plan? If it's closing prior to that, then we'll see if maybe Bob's got a link to the whole document that they have, and we can gather our comments individually and send them through. Does that sound like a plan?
I'm just looking at the website, but I don't see anything about it.
Yeah, well, they have their next workshop tomorrow on it.
Town staff?
You know, the planning board.
Just one. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Meeting.
they already received feedback on sections 1 through 3, and then this is sections 4 through 7.
Probably gonna get a little bit of pushback, are adjacent to bodies of water, which,
Yeah.
what size?
Yeah.
Running water, stagnant, what, I mean, ponds, vernal pools,
Yeah,
we've
I-
always kinda dealt with that.
My thought is that knowing that the baseline is gonna be low phosphate, that the commission can do what it's been doing already, and when the project comes up, they can evaluate it and make that recommendation for no phosphate. But it's totally up to,
I see. Yeah, 'cause we're gonna see those projects anyway.
correct.
Yeah, I didn't think of that.
We should.
Yeah.
Yeah. So am I crossing this off? I'm writing a pen.
Writing in pen.
I would prefer to handle it that way, but I'm not a voter tonight, so don't worry about it.
Oh.
Or am I anymore?
Well, no, but this is not a, this is not a, to me, this is not a vote, this is a discussion. If we're gonna make a comment, we're, formulating comments to make. I don't think need to put something to a vote for it.
Just having fun with
I
it,
know.
that's all.
Yeah.
So, I will, at a little minimum though, I will get with Bob and find out if there's a place that there's a working document that's captured all their comments. So you can see,
It is online.
is it?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I couldn't find it, so.
We don't have the link? I can forward all of you the notice that I got on it, if you'd like, and then you can hit those links, okay?
All right, yeah.
All right.
This is different than the one that we got in the email with the links to the document.
No, I don't think it's any different than,
I think the email I got had the links to abstract, and then parts 1 through 3, and then 4
Oh,
through 7.
okay.
Well, that was on when Sharon sent out the meeting minutes, and she just said it's too big to include in
Yes.
the
That's right.
package. It was
Yeah.
huge.
She did 2 emails.
Oh.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
those links were in the first of the 2.
All right, that's why I missed them then, I think.
yeah, it's all there.
All right. All right. Well, then we can hold our comments for now. Wanna move into chapter 111? You need the projector?
Sure.
Is this the seventh inning stretch here? Oh, we're doing a seventh inning.
Generation.
Like you're on
Oh,
the
that'd
edge.
be
If
nice,
you
huh?
need to move over here so you're not on the edge, you're fine.
Yeah?
Yeah,
Good enough?
like straddling there.
I'm sorry?
Oh, I'm mumbling,
Oh.
sorry. I'm talking to myself.
Instead.
That's that.
Gina was offering that I could cozy up.
She can you can cozy up here. No, but I know how frustrating this would be. On an edge there, on a seam.
That gets too loud, we'll have to, oops, that's not gonna work.
Nope.
I sent out an email today, because I got it today, the map from GZA with
Yes.
with the updated numbering, so. I get my damn dog in the house and forgot to get my computer, so I don't have the map.
Just trying to figure out that display. No, something's plugged in. Maybe I'll have to go to my dongle instead.
Yeah, that's not even flickering.
Yeah. So while we do that, DVDs for everybody. I think. Oh, maybe not.
I don't need one. I don't have a computer.
Oh.
Who did I miss?
I can use it as a frisbee.
Oh.
There is,
Doesn't fit in here.
yeah, there's another one.
That's right.
You have one, right?
Yeah.
Thank you.
I don't know if my computer has that anymore.
Plug in the second.
That one seems to
I do.
actually work better.
Mine does, I know.
Seems to be working from my end. Here we go. Oh, look at that.
Like a
That is
giant
a
mushroom.
massive mushroom.
Yeah.
Oh, I was like,
I thought it was the back of E.T.'s head.
yeah, I know. Yeah, you're right.
It's a massive mushroom coming off the side of a tree. I kind of got underneath it and took a picture of it.
Looks like the guy
It
from.
reminded me of the Enterprise.
Yeah.
Looks like the guy from Independence Day.
Yeah, there you
Oh,
go.
yeah.
Yes, yeah, yep. All right. So, chapter 111. I'm not sure how we all want to go about this, so what I proposed by sending out the Excel spreadsheet was categories of properties, and I also threw out some thoughts as to what the limitations should be for those categories. So tonight, what would you like to do? You want to discuss limitations associated with categories, or do you want to discuss groupings of properties? I don't know, what tack do you want to go at?
I would like to hear, I guess, trying to think what the logical start might be to go with what the limitations are and then categorize the properties. So to me, it seems like the limitations would be the first thing to discuss.
Okay.
That's should be yes and no there.
Come on, computer, you can do it. So this was the starting point that I put up, right? Limitations for the categories, right? Does that have the all? It does the all, okay.
I think we were gonna add no dumping, right?
Yeah, so once I presented this at the last meeting, people had some thoughts, but we didn't take any definitive action, so. So I guess we should start with all properties. Is there a consistent set of limitations we might want on every property we consider for this chapter?
Beyond what's there.
Or what's there. That's just a place to throw darts at, so. I don't feel strongly one way or the other about any of these. I just wanted to start the conversation, so.
So these are the names of the categories, not,
Well, it's not just that. Yeah, categories plus limitations that could be in them,
right.
right?
Let's see, so if you have a property that has the restriction all, right, that's how you're viewing this?
Well, yeah, in this case, I think all is a special case, meaning every property.
Mhm.
So that's the base set of limitations that every property would have,
So these would be rules that apply to every piece of the
Correct.
conservation restriction.
that we put in there.
And they all appear reasonable to me.
Could you please add an I into number 2 for baiting?
Oh,
Not batting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can't bat them around?
Cindy would be really upset if we started batting some animals around.
Well, we're saying no batting, though,
Yeah, right, yeah.
or baiting. So, go ahead.
When you say up on number 1, no removing trees, plants, shrubs, do you think that we should put it, I don't know how to word it, because, I mean, obviously if a kid takes a little rock, that's not a problem, but we wanna make sure people aren't moving those boulders around. So do we wanna put something about moving rocks, or moving boulders? Or should we just leave that alone?
Just probably-
Alteration of terrain.
You're speaking of like what they did at Scalar. Yeah.
Yeah, if you need equipment to move something, don't do it.
Yeah,
How would you
so,
word that?
Is there a
Uh,
consensus on one? Is that how we want to do this? Go
Yeah,
each one by
Yeah.
one?
yeah, just a question for you though, Peter, given your background. If there's would someone moving rocks on our property be violating some other law or RSA of some sort, do you
Not that
think?
I'm aware of,
No? Okay,
unless there's some environmental law, kind of like I was unaware of the law of dredging
yeah,
till it was brought forward to me at that time. It made sense to me when I read it. The title was a little weird, but you know, as far as the movement of rocks or something, excuse me. You know, not that I'm aware of.
That would be a really hard one, I think, because we put them there.
Yeah, I mean,
We moved them there.
as a barrier, I mean, they're an obvious
Right, I
barrier.
mean, as I was saying, you'd have to, there'd have to be,
I guess if you know,
some restriction on to trying to move a barrier.
Yes, I mean, you can move stone walls, I mean,
No, you
to
can't.
rocks.
Yeah,
Right,
actually, you can't, that's a special case.
yeah,
There's an RSA about that.
Yeah, it's a special case, by the way.
yeah.
But obviously, if there's a tree down, people are gonna, move the branches or whatever, so,
I understand we've used some of these rocks for barriers, and now, do we, if somebody comes in and pushes them out of the way somehow, it's still kind of a hard case to push. If you
Right.
had to-
I mean, we could say it's vandalism, but that's our opinion. You know, because you push it back.
Right, and what are they doing when they move the rocks? That's going against, or
So,
some of our restrictions.
the one thing on the all, I think we're gonna have a hard time, be a hard sell, is it said no motorbikes, no ATVs. So you think of Greater Woods, I mean, we have sections of that property that are designated as, that's allowed. So this is a pretty big change.
Yep.
Is anybody against that?
Alright. So there is the section of Greater Woods where they are allowed to ride their dirt bikes
Yep.
or four-wheelers.
Yep.
And that was approved by this commission.
Yeah, it was done as part of the stewardship plan,
Yep.
right?
Yeah, to me, it's almost, how's the usage of it? I guess my question is there usage of that area?
They would they use those areas to access areas they're not supposed to be in, really. But would you agree on that?
You have a few people that
Yeah.
treat it correctly.
Yeah.
And, but we have other people that, they don't believe in it, so,
Yeah.
I would say in the last 2 years,
It's better.
it went from some use to almost no use.
Yeah.
There's hardly anybody in there, and when they are, they're not acting properly.
Well, the one thing I can say is, if you had to look at it from a prosecutorial point of view, is that if you eliminate that area, now you have no gray area.
right,
You've got somebody to say, oh geez, I didn't realize I strayed out of bounds.
Yep.
You've eliminated that, so if that's what the commission's going for, then that's the route you wanna take, would be my opinion.
personally, I just feel that this is gonna be a hard sell. You know, I think there's everyone, we always talk about the balance, recreation, conservation, all that, and that's a form of recreation, so it's gonna be, I know, like, the subcommittee would get full support from subcommittee. And I don't think we probably pretty much all in the same vein, but I think that's gonna be a tough sell
To the public.
to the public and to the town council.
Yeah, well, yeah, the town council would have to approve this,
Right.
right?
If we believe in it,
Yeah, absolutely, and we're the ones responsible for maintaining the property, and we are the ones that maintain the property. So, you know, and we have, so what would this do to something like where it's in the master plan for Horse Hill, that if there's a specified group?
Yeah, so right now on Horse Hill, so the Horse Hill definitive plan states that if an organized, or I should say a state, I think it's state approved.
Recognized.
State recognized club was to take care of the areas within in the definitive plan that are designated for potential ATV use, then that use could be allowed to go forward. But no state recognized group has stood up and said that they would install and maintain those trails. So, see, the beauty of our ordinance system is that it can be changed. We're a charter form of government. An ordinance change requires three hearings at the town council, and it's changed. So in a matter of 2 months, you can go from one ordinance reading A to an ordinance reading B, and that's it. In the old way, ordinances were changed only at town meeting, and therefore it was once a year you had a crack at it. So I would say that if a state recognized group stood up and said, hey, we want to do this, and this is our plan for doing that, then we could adjust the ordinance in a short order, probably in as much time as it would take them to get organized enough to do it. So, I mean,
Would there be-
that was one of the goals of the charter when it was put in place, was to allow that flexibility and more real-time nature of our legal system.
And maybe we could include in there, if that were to happen, if that state group disbanded, it would revert back to,
Well, we could turn around, right, and then go through the process and revert it back, yeah. So yes, I expect us to get some pushback, but the fact is no state-recognized group has stood up and said that they were gonna maintain it. One of them kinda did, but never came
Yep.
through, right? And that's for Greater Woods. My thought when I put this down here was, yes, it's gonna create some controversy, but we have our town charter now, it can be changed, so.
Would that be something worthwhile to put, if we can word it correctly, into the all category?
Well, I think during the public meeting discussions, we can bring up the fact that our form of government allows us to be flexible and adjust accordingly. I'm not sure you wanna write it into the ordinance, because that's just the nature of our system, our charter, just read it. Right?
No, I just think it's trying to, not make it look like we're trying to be exclusionary. If we recognize the fact that if there's a club that wants to participate, there are sections that are available to them, but they have to participate. If they don't, they're not allowed to ride. I'm just.
So what's written here is not the legal terms, okay? OHRV is a legal term, but ATVs is not a legal term. So we would want to clean this up to be really clear about our intent, okay? At one time, snowmobiles were considered part of the OHRV ordinance, RSA, and they're no longer part of that. They don't fall under that definition. They have their own definition now, so we would have to be careful how we put it, so. But I didn't want to get into legal terms yet.
You could say gas-propelled vehicle.
Well,
No?
well,
Because
we have electric
electric.
vehicles now, and
Right.
electric dirt bikes or.
But
Well,
we
you
also,
specifically spell out that you've done that with.
but don't we also have to allow if there's an electric, like something that
OPMD?
someone that's handicapped would use, we have to allow that in, don't we?
Yes.
But I don't
But
think we have
but
to
that's
list that.
But that's covered under its own
Yeah.
law.
Right. Before I forget, under all trash, do we also want to make sure that we include dog waste, or is that a given? Should we make sure that we spell that out?
Well, there already is a,
There is.
so I don't wanna get into a position where we're saying something that's already covered by another law, because then if that one changes, we're either
Sure.
beholden to it or we're in conflict with it.
Sure.
So data should really only be in one spot.
Okay.
Is Grader the only one that allows any off-road vehicle use?
Currently.
That explicitly allows, okay? There are other properties where we're silent on the subject, so.
I usually, my opinion thus far on this commission has been, like you were saying, to be a little more inclusive.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to picture how the public would react if all of a sudden a group stepped up at Horse Hill, for example, and started riding ATVs everywhere where they're out enjoying nature. And I know I personally, I think, would be a little bothered by it.
Yeah,
I've not seen anybody at Grader, and I'm there all the time. I mean, you said it's not been happening much in the past couple of years, so maybe that's it.
We have-
traffic's down a lot.
The section they're allowed, where is that at Grader?
Yellow trails. So it's pretty much
Main.
Gateway, excluding the school, through Wildlife Opening 1, but only to Conservation Drive. That circle there is where they'd turn around,
Yep.
but they don't. And then up Gateway Hill,
Until the wetlands, right?
So the real wide trails that are
Yeah.
the ones you'd sort of expect, those are the allowed ones. I've never seen anybody on them.
Yeah, we had a huge influx with side-by-sides for a while, a couple of years ago, back in 16. And
And that's when the gates needed to go up, because that road that went through the water, you know, it used to be that deep, and in a year it was, you know, this deep, because that was where they went.
I realized that they were responsible in part for that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, they just chewed it up, get in there and spin
Yeah.
the wheels, mud goes everywhere.
So much fun, right?
Yeah.
Right. I kind of
Well, look at-
feel like Tim about this. I mean, I feel like that's a battle worth. I mean, we're trying to streamline the rules, right? In part, and it's the one exception, and it's not getting a lot of use.
No,
And-
it's
and-
not. I mean, this is the time of year that I hear more and see more activity up there is when everyone's home from school, and
Sure.
you know, this is the one little time it seems to, you get a little bump, but again, it's dropped off dramatically considering.
I was in there at Greater Woods 2 Sundays ago, and there was a kid on a dirt bike on Silverfish, which is posted on both ends. And
Yep.
yeah, I didn't see him riding any other trails. Just came from the power lines onto a trail that's no motorized. And when he saw us, he took off. But
And that's the problem of allowing it in one part and not the other. Is it's so tempting. That's a much better trail to ride on. So it's fun.
hmm.
It would be fun, you know.
I mean, all these places are just gonna have more and more passive usage as time goes on. I mean, the town's not getting any smaller. You know, I think we should include it.
I think you see it in waves. You know,
Sure,
you'll
yeah.
see a family or a few families come into town or whatever, they'll ride thinking they can, and then the kids will end up eventually, you know, getting summer jobs and whatever else, and they move on and they go away. And then the next new family or group of families come in, and it happens all over again.
Yeah, I mean, there was somebody on BB riding in there until
Yeah.
the gate was locked.
Well, it's like Tim explained in the process of the ordinance review, there are gonna be 3
Yep. Oh,
hearings publicly announced, and people will ask what the changes are, and it'll be noted what the changes are, and if there are folks that wanna come out to address it or protest the eliminating of the OHRVs, they can do it at that time, and we can take it under consideration at that time and see what happens. But, you know, I guess at this point, if that's the wishes of the commission and stuff, then move forward as written and see where it goes.
And then some deeds have it right in the deeds, so.
Yeah, so certain properties will never allow certain uses because it's in the deed, so,
And all the ordinance, we can do all we want. It's within the deed. It's already there.
yeah.
Yeah. and-
So that we can't change it. Well, we can, but it's a long legal process.
So how does everyone feel about adding to the all category, no trapping? Because right now, they're supposed to come and ask permission. Since I've been on the commission, no one's ever asked permission, thus, no one's doing it, so why not just make it in there to say, you know? And then there's no confusion either. People can't say, oh, we didn't know, we're supposed to ask, because I know some,
So no baiting and trapping of animals? Is that what
Have
you
no
want?
baiting.
And/or trapping?
yeah. Well, yeah, right, because you're right, they have to ask for
So
baiting too, which we had one
we-
request, but they never showed up.
Would we need an exception if we had to, like, trap beavers or anything?
Yeah, you'd probably want to say something about
Well, most people in
for
Highlands know that
conservation
you need the
purposes.
property owner's permission before they could do any of that.
Mhm.
Yeah, like I noticed in some of the language about, no removal of plants, for example, is a little asterisk, except for normal conservation purposes, like removing of invasives, et cetera. There's always sort of an exception, you know,
Right.
like no vehicles, but to come in for fire protection, you can do that, so you could easily.
Yeah, or maintenance, you know.
Mhm.
Right,
Yep.
yeah, you could put something in about the beavers, should there
Mhm.
be a need,
Well, and I think
sanctioned
that,
by the commission.
yeah, I think I read that in some of the deeds that you sent out,
That's right.
Tim. They
Yeah.
kind of say except for, you know,
Yeah, we used to put that in all of our deeds, just when we properties, like, there was kind of a maintenance clause.
Yeah.
But think about where in Greater Woods or Horse Hill River, where would we trap for beaver?
Well, right, I don't
Wh-
think we,
why?
I don't think we would
Yeah,
anywhere
I
in our
mean,
properties, but,
They grow and they make a pond.
right, yeah.
Have at it, buddy.
Yeah,
We'll put a trail over here.
yeah, I know, right.
You know, we're not,
It would
it's-
only be like if it impacts a abutting landowner or something.
Yeah,
We're on number 2 right now, right?
Well, no, we're still at number one.
kind of morphing around.
Yeah, right, yeah.
I guess I'm just, are we all set with number 1, and we're gonna move to number 2 now? Or
Well,
is-
Cindy was talking about adding the no trapping.
To number 2.
Number
Number
one.
one,
Number one.
One,
yeah, number one.
because
all properties.
All properties. got
Would it be well served, you know, the categories as they are, but we have a single clause at the bottom that says, you know, maintenance activities as permitted by the MCC and town council and legal, you know, and you know, authorities having jurisdiction, whatever they are.
Well, right, just like no removing trees,
Right.
except if we wanna do something, right?
And I think you brought up previously too, no dumping, that seems logical to be in an all category.
Yep.
Yeah.
We do have,
No.
don't we have, there's some no dumping. Are you supposed to have all yard waste, and everything's supposed to go to the landfill, or what do we call it now?
Recycling center?
Recycling center.
You could say illegal dumping as per the RSA.
Right, that's what I'm saying, you know, it's dumping is
Right,
illegal
yeah,
for,
I mean, that's happening too. There's a dozen new tires, right?
A dozen new tires?
Escalar, yeah.
That's it.
Really?
Dude.
Yeah, since, well, they're new, I mean.
is that gonna be our escape clause?
Yeah,
Okay.
Wow.
yeah, I can add more
Yeah,
language.
right,
there,
but that's what that's for, I understand.
Yeah,
Well, all right, so are we adding no trapping to 1?
Yeah, I guess
You look skeptical about this.
Reluctant to keep adding. Someone, if they wanted to trap there, they would have to come ask us.
They have to do that anyway, and nobody's ever asked
I can't believe
them.
why I would be inclined to tell them yes.
Right, I know, right?
But then again, I can't understand why anyone would want to trap on a conservation. I want to resist the urge to keep adding.
I found a trap at Horse Hill, and nobody came in front of us. There was just a trap in one of the wetlands.
But they're looking for mink or something, or
is it a steel?
Yeah, it was steel.
we remove it?
beaver? Or
I removed it, yeah. I called the police and they didn't know what to do with it.
Well, yeah, what if a kid
They didn't know what to
steps
do
in
with it.
Right, and this isn't nuisance trapping, this is, you know, recreational trapping, fur
Yeah.
trapping that people wanna do, and if you look at the licenses, it's very small for the entire state.
yeah, you're right.
It's tiny.
Utilization is low, you're right.
Yeah, it's so small, you know.
Yeah, it's fine.
There was no markings on the trap either, so you know it's illegal because trappers have to have their tag on it.
Well, I guess part of it, and I think Steve makes a great point, is if it's already cited by law, then why do we really need to put it in here? If a trapper has to get our permission anyways,
Well, cause they're not doing it.
you
Well,
Right, but then.
They're not coming to us, they're not,
Those people are gonna do that anyways.
Yeah,
well,
but
right,
they're
but
already
now
doing
we
it.
could put it on the kiosks, no trapping, you know. I mean, you could say the same thing about no taking of trees. If people are gonna do it, they're gonna do it anyway, but we still want it in here.
Right, but saying, there's an RSA already about trapping, requirements for trapping.
Mm-hmm.
And it's landowner permission is one of them.
Yeah.
Plus having a license.
So you're saying
So
that this
we
is
could-
redundant? or-
Yeah, I'm saying we could, we could
Well, we can
post
do
it
whatever
now.
we want on our properties, though.
We could post it now, because they're not allowed to come trap on our properties now without our permission.
It's kind of like the dog waste thing we said earlier, we didn't add it because it's
There's
covered.
there's already one, yeah.
And for the 6 Merrimack residents, or whatever, that actually have trapping licenses and do that, and have no desire to trap on our lands, it just would seem offensive to start adding those sorts of things.
So if the consensus is not at this time, you can put it up for a vote, Cindy, if you want. You want to get it on the record.
Sure.
I'm just like, we can already post that. We can already post.
Well,
no-
we can already post that you need permission.
Right,
But
and they're gonna have to
that
come,
just
and they're gonna have to come before us and get permission.
to post, you know.
That's what I'm saying, so I mean, and we haven't seen anyone, we posted, they're still not gonna come. Cause anyone who's doing it already knows that they're not supposed to be doing it on, you know, public land or without permission,
Mhm.
so.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes the better strategy is to not point out what's possible if you don't want them to do it, right?
Mhm. Mm.
It's like, don't let a little kid, like, don't go near the liquor cabinet while I'm
Yeah,
gone.
don't,
Suddenly, that's an idea that hadn't occurred to them before, right?
don't look for the key under.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you make a good point.
you know, all of a sudden,
It could spiral out of control. It becomes like that sign at the beach that lists 20 things, and then number 20 is the real important one that no one sees. Like,
Or someone
don't
figures
go
out,
take a selfie with the sea lion or whatever.
Well, can I
or
still,
or someone comes up with item 21 that, well, it wasn't posted, I couldn't do that.
Mhm.
You know, they get away from the spirit of the law and they're just looking for any out.
can I still give permission to Granite State Dog Recovery if they need to use our property for catching a dog? That's trapping.
I would think that's gonna be our everything
Yeah.
escape clause.
Okay.
Because I was thinking the same thing. I mean, we just gave Moosewood Ecological permission to go trap turtles.
Right.
But they trapped them, they telemetry, and they put them back, and they let them go. And they're gonna try to trap them again and take that thing off, so.
Can, before we move off of one, can we put no fires before no camping? Just so it's with the other stuff,
Yeah.
and then at the end, all trash carried out?
Yeah, the final wording's not gonna look like this.
Okay, all right.
This is just to get the concepts out. It's gonna have to be turned into legalese, okay?
Mm.
So this is gonna be the base for
Concepts.
all the properties.
All the properties, yeah.
And then, they're gonna get more restrictive as we go up here. Or they change restrictions as we go. So a major property is gonna be all plus the major property.
Correct.
Okay,
Cindy, are you
That was the thought.
okay.
are you comfortable with the fact that the trapping is already not allowed and?
Well, no, it's not that it's not allowed. It is allowed.
With our
People
permission.
can see that it's allowed, right?
Yep.
But with our permission.
She
Right.
wants to close the door on the
Yeah.
option. Okay, right now there's an option.
Should there be something in reference to target shooting?
That's a good one. I would recommend you speak to Carrie Ann first. I can pull up a lot of history on it if you'd like. So we tried to do that, by the way.
Oh, you did?
We as a
Okay.
commission took a vote that said no target shooting on our properties, and we posted our properties that way. We are the owners of them when we did it.
Well, then,
We asked the town council to make it an ordinance for all
thought they
town
were-
properties, including our conservation properties, and the recommendation came, we're not sure that we can legally control the use of firearms on our properties. Because-
Federally
because of the
written
sta-
laws, yeah.
Well, no, because the state has explicitly in
thought
the
that-
RSA stated that they have the authority to restrict the use of firearms.
Oh, I thought that did turn into a town ordinance. It never did?
No, it's only, the town council said there's two sides to it, okay? So as a town council, the legislative body, they can enact an ordinance, okay, that says can't do it. And if someone took it to court, our town attorney said it may not hold up in court because they can pull up this RSA that says only the state has the authority to do that. And the only place they've done it is what they call in compact urban areas or compact. And you can see there's some designated, there's one here in Merrimack that's designated from about the Common Man all the way down to near the Homestead, that's a designated compact area, okay? So in compact areas, the use of firearms is restricted, you have to look up the RSA to see what the restriction is, So our attorney stated that as a municipality adopting an ordinance, but we are also property owners of certain properties within the municipality. And as a property owner, we have the right to say no, almost anything. on our properties. So therefore, the town council took the action that said that we do not allow target shooting on our properties as the owner of those properties, in conjunction with we, the commission, stating the same thing. So right now, we've made a rule that states no target shooting, and we have posted that rule in a number of places where we've had issues.
So it's a rule, but not an RSA?
It's not an ordinance. There's no violation of an ordinance. Now, you could look at other things that they could be violating at the same time. They could be violating trespass if they were asked to stop that activity and they chose not to. So the second time they came around, they could be arrested, they could be cited for trespass because
Or
they-
littering.
Littering. They get it for littering if they left their shells
And
behind.
what if it's
so-
posted?
We charge them for disorderly conduct after
Correct.
disobeying a lawful order.
Yes, exactly, right. So you can't do nothing on the first offense except to advise them that it's not allowed per the property owner, and that that activity, they should clean up their mess and go about their way, about their business. And if they come back again, then they could be hit for various things. So that's the way it is right now. So that's why you don't see no target shooting being proposed for the ordinance, because unless the RSAs have changed in the last 3 or 4 years, per our town attorney, that's the direction we've taken, so, okay,
I was unaware of that history.
yeah, so.
Again, you have deeds that.
Yeah, so
Right,
the
th-
property
that's-
owners
yeah.
exerting their rights
Yep.
on the deeds, so here's where it gets really interesting, and before we leave the all, I wanted to bring this up, and that is the current all, because this is the current all, chapter 111, right? So is there anything in the current chapter that you'd like to see included going forward or removed? And I think you all got a copy of this. I did email it out, so, the current chapter 111, so. Okay. So the first part is about, designated times.
Now, is this all our properties?
Now, this is only 5 properties explicitly listed at the end of the ordinance. Or how many
Okay.
properties? 6 properties.
Got it.
Okay. So in our ordinance, when we do it, for all properties, we're gonna list every parcel. It's gonna have at the bottom of it's gonna have a number of them listed, but that's just the way it is. So chapter 111-1A is hours. Do we wanna restrict hours on our properties, or do we wanna have hours restrictions only on certain properties?
Yeah, I think we.
At this point, I did not include it in the all, because I didn't think we wanted to have hours restrictions on all properties.
No.
No.
But going forward, we may want to have a designation for some, okay? Then, no fires, I mean, that's the one we've already talked about, but except as approved by the Conservation Commission in conjunction with statutes and the forest fire warden, which, tell me who that is, I have no idea.
Manueli?
Fire
Not-
department.
I'm not sure he's the fire warden, but, okay. I got the impression that that's a state fire warden, okay, but that's just a thought,
Yep.
so I just figured we would just take the expedient route and just say no fires.
Yeah.
I think that's reasonable.
Yeah, especially because I don't wanna be around when the fire gets out of hand, I don't want it to be checking on it, and we're not authorized to enforce anyway, so.
Right.
So, current one is no glass containers within any conservation areas. That's something we want to continue, or do we care at this point?
And there's been a movement lately to move a lot of drinking water bottles to glass.
Yep.
Because they're concerned about plastics and such.
Mhm.
Seems like a reasonable bringing glass into a conservation area purpose. I don't know. I don't know if it's worth doing anything about. I think people are gonna bring a water bottle if they bring a water bottle, and I don't think anyone's gonna do anything about it. It's a drink,
Yeah.
I think the
Yeah,
real intent behind that is broken glass and
Right.
all that stuff.
Well,
right?
so,
That's
read
typically for
read the,
beer
read the
bottles.
next one.
Right.
Yeah.
Read the next one down.
Yeah, that
So
that
it
includes.
it kinda covers it.
Yeah.
As long as we have a no trash, no rubbish, then I don't care if you bring in plastic, I don't care what you bring in, you can't leave trash.
So eliminate sick.
alcoholic beverages or unlawful drugs. Well, if they're unlawful, aren't they unlawful?
Isn't there a public drinking, is it just,
There's no public drinking law.
no, it's just public intoxication?
Yes. Well, no, there's no public intoxication law. That would fall under protective custody, but
Yeah.
there's, for possession by intoxication for a person under the age of 21, but there's no, you can walk down the road drinking a beer. There's no law that says you can't.
Really?
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I mean, you'll certainly get asked a few questions if you are, though,
Yeah.
likely. Not always. Depending on your behavior, I would imagine, you might be
Remember,
left
this was
alone.
the state that we used to have till about 20 years ago. You used to drive around with an open beer.
That's right,
Yeah.
exactly.
Well, I didn't think you could have, alcohol open in public.
There's certain,
Okay.
like Hampton has a no
Yep, Yep.
alcohol. We don't have a specific law.
it's good to know.
But if
I mean,
they're,
you can't have it like the schools.
Right.
His
Fourth
eyes
of
lit up.
July, you can't have alcohol
Yep.
containers on school property. They have a specific rule for that, so, and that prohibits them from entering on the 4th of July with alcoholic beverages.
so if somebody was belligerent, that would be a different charge.
Say that again?
If someone was belligerent, that would be a different charge. It wouldn't be because they were drinking. It'd be like disorderly conduct or something.
I guess what you got, it
Or you,
depends on what belligerent is.
okay, well, yeah.
Right. It could be a danger to themselves if they're really belligerent,
Right,
right?
stumbling down or, you know.
Yeah, and then there's the law of protective custody.
Yeah.
I mean, you can place somebody, if they're intoxicated and they're a danger to themselves or others, and they're not driving, but they're publicly intoxicated, you, law enforcement, can detain that individual to bring them to I don't want to take up the meeting.
That's, no,
It's all right.
it's,
Drunk
it's in concert with what we're talking about, so.
So do we want E or not?
Is there a history of a problem with that in the properties?
Not really.
No.
I think it's covered by broken glass,
And,
littering.
That's actually my bigger concern, is just the litter and the
I
trash
mean-
problem, not
and
the.
we,
Once in a while, you'll get a party or something,
Mm.
you know, underage party usually.
or occasionally you buy a parcel and go up there and
I know that
celebrate.
Wasserman Park has a no alcoholic beverage.
Yeah.
In the Parks and Rec side.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the Parks and Rec, yeah.
It does give you some authority then to say, hey, if they're just showing up to a party,
I'd be concerned about that at Wildcat.
yeah.
Well, that's one of the properties that's closed at night, though.
So they
But it may
violate.
not be.
So
May
if
not be
somebody
anymore.
is
Take it out.
consuming alcohol or doing drugs on our properties, would there be anything we can do?
Well, this
about
is, we're talking about all.
it? Yeah.
I mean, we're not saying that we're not gonna have this in one of the other ones, but
Right.
right, we're in all right now, right? That's,
Drugs are already illegal.
yeah.
But
Yeah.
Unlawful drug is already, unlawful drugs.
the
Medical.
Smiths throw a six-pack of Bud Light in their picnic basket and
Right.
Or a bottle of wine for a
drink it
picnic.
at Greater Woods. It's probably worse things that could happen out there.
I was just gonna say, is it a problem if I'm on the observation deck enjoying a glass of wine with my wife while watching the beaver and the animals play? Is that a
Wouldn't have a
problem?
problem with
As
that.
long as it's not a glass and it's like
I
a
mean,
stainless steel vessel.
I mean, and that can happen with people who especially abut the property, they could walk out the
No, it
door
can't be
and
glass now. We're gonna take that out.
on the property.
That sounds all right.
Yeah, so I mean, it's, not condoning it, but, we've celebrated parcel purchases on the
That's
property,
true.
Oh, that's right.
We have,
champagne and,
yeah.
Arrest them.
I was old enough.
well, and it's our property.
Yes.
I was old enough.
Let's skip it for now.
So I don't think, this belongs on all.
Okay.
Great.
F?
Animals in cages, have not seen that yet.
So F is already, you put that in there pretty much already in the all category, right?
Yeah, that's what we're proposing right now for all, is no vehicles.
That sounds good to me.
You could always, yeah, it says for designated for
Oh.
Right, G?
That's another one where the law already exists, right?
Yeah, so right now, the town ordinance says that your dog needs to be under your control. This one is more restrictive, saying your control is the use of a leash or rein.
Oh,
Or
man.
Or
cage.
within a cage.
That would be so hard to enforce. I mean, most
Yep.
people do not have their dogs on leashes.
Pushing a gorilla in a cage around horse hill.
How about my parakeet?
Yeah.
You gonna go skip around the trail? Swinging the poor thing?
I mean, we may encourage that, but, you know,
So
the
I guess
fact is
the
people.
rain part is if you were horseback riding,
Yeah.
Oh,
but the cage part is a little different.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
Are we gonna remove the language for G and let the current dog ordinance
Yeah.
cover us?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I think so.
Yeah.
Note that the same wording is very similar is for in-town parks, by the way. Chapter 142. But parks are maybe different, so.
Yeah, there's a lot more kids and children
Right,
activities.
yeah, people in much tighter situations, yeah. Okay, so this is H's the version of firearms, which our town attorney has told us may not be enforceable, depending if it's challenged or not.
Guess we'll leave it in for now then, until somebody challenges it.
I mean, as you said, it only takes a couple of months to change the,
Yeah.
change the ordinance. Why not try it?
Okay.
I'd leave it in.
It's been on there.
Yeah, it's,
Yeah.
I don't know.
This is just chapter
Well,
111.
okay,
which on
is
six
that-
properties.
Are we gonna say for the purposes of target shooting?
So you can't discharge a firearm.
So,
Period.
So that
But
means
can't
no
hunt.
hunting.
That's right, that's the next step,
Oh, yeah.
right? So now this
That
says you,
means, that means no hunting.
hunting. That's what that means.
except for
That's a bigger can of
legalized.
worms.
Yeah.
I think
So-
we need to leave this one out.
Oh, okay. Oh, because this doesn't cover all our properties now.
Well,
Correct, right
Chapter
now it's just
111 we
wildlife,
don't have.
cat
Yeah, but, well, I mean,
Everything.
well, yeah, we don't have an ordinance that says that, but we're saying right now, we have a rule that we say no target shooting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, are we saying we're not gonna try to make that an ordinance?
Yeah,
We're just gonna leave it as a rule?
we,
I mean, you could have similar language to this and then add at the end.
For the
ex-
purposes of target shooting?
and- Or you could say no discharge of any of these things except for legal hunting during season according to New Hampshire Fish and Game rules or whatever that is.
Or
Yeah.
something like that?
Yeah.
that's what I think we should do too. And I thought we had that somewhere already, no?
Well, I think that we have our rule.
And
It's not an ordinance.
Yeah.
Does that affect the Bowman situation? It's
That's
in-
their own property.
it's Totally separate.
Except for 3D shoots when they do come
When-
on our
They
property.
come on our property.
I don't wanna change the subject, but that noise just reminded me of,
Drones?
drones, yeah.
Oh.
Do we have anything about drones?
No,
We
those
were-
are already covered by the FCC,
FAA.
FAA, well, and FCC. You have limited power on transmission and
Yeah,
heights and your
right.
space restrictions, so.
It's an interesting thought.
Yeah, but essentially you can bring drones on our properties. As long as you adhere to all the other rules around them, so.
It's not a
Yeah,
motorized
do you wanna-
vehicle?
well, only if you have a very tiny person inside.
A little mouse.
Yeah.
In a cage.
Or a really big drone.
Yeah. That'd be a helicopter.
Where does our airspace start and end,
Yeah.
right? Is it 100 feet up? Is it 50 feet up, right?
You wanna, now the e-bike issue, does that wanna go in the existing wording under F2?
Good question. So
Be a
we,
good
d-
place
we,
for it.
we do know that some of our deeds will not allow e-bikes. So some of our properties are gonna have that restriction. The question is do you want all properties to have that restriction?
Well, if you're eliminating the only area for an OHRV, which is Greater Woods, then why would you allow e-bikes then at this
Well, right now, we do view e-bikes as motorized vehicles, so they're only allowed in places that have motorized trails.
So that would be the area off of Greater
Right.
Woods.
Certain trails only.
Certain trails only.
And you're eliminating that now, so.
Oh, right, so you're right, why wouldn't we put that in one,
That
right,
covers
under
it.
the all category?
And the folks who need it for mobility reasons can have
Or-
that
or
anyway.
it's already covered.
They're
yeah.
covered under the law.
So we're gonna add e-bikes to F?
Sure.
I think we should.
So, Matt, you're obviously gonna be the one that's got the most information on this, but the Class 1 e-bikes now, they're starting to really change the classification seemingly. Class 1s are pretty low power. Is that?
Pedal assist
Yeah,
only.
pedal assist, yeah. So is that still something where, or, because I thought the state was gonna start to allow them in some areas or some state parks or something like that, 'cause
Yeah, so DOT, so on the roads,
okay,
a lot of times, they want to be able to be treated as a bicycle on the roads.
Right. Not a moped, which has
Right.
different rules.
Right.
Oh, that's different.
okay.
Makes sense.
So they're kind of making inroads with DOT, but off-road, and they still do 26 miles an hour.
Yeah.
Even though it's only pedal assist and only so much
I
wattage.
thought that was just, that we're gonna restrict them in speed. I thought they were restricted to 25 or less.
Yeah, 25 or less, or 26 or less, or something like that.
Okay.
But still, if you're doing 26 miles
Yeah,
an
oh,
hour up a
I'm not,
hill,
yeah, I'm not, yeah,
where people are usually doing 4,
yeah.
and a hiker is doing, 5.
Okay. So it's gonna be complete, all e-bikes, period.
Yeah, I think that'll end up creating some discussion too,
Yep.
so. Yeah, I'd kinda like to find a way to allow e-bikes, the lowest power ones, but I understand the concerns. So that's it. So just wanted to make sure that we viewed this before we left the all category, since that's the current all, okay? So we've just kind of eliminated this, right?
Great.
So, should say no
Duck blinds.
e-bikes.
So
No,
that says-
no
All right,
e-bikes are going,
On all.
yeah, that's
Oh,
fine.
and number
Yeah.
one.
That says no duck blinds.
That's what it says. I just threw it in there for a discussion.
Okay. Because I can probably tell you where about 15 are right now.
There's a couple of them.
Yeah,
Greater.
On conservation property?
Oh,
Yes.
wait, sorry, I did miss something. I want to bring this back up again. Last item.
Aye.
So this is the way they handle the trees, shrubs, and all that other stuff. Do you prefer that language, by the way?
Yes, because then we could go after that lady when she beat up on Matt's lawnmower.
Oh,
Because if you noticed, I had said, no cutting of trees and shrubs or removing them.
Yeah.
This language kind of covers it all and a little bit more, so.
Yeah, 'cause, I mean, what's the definition of deface versus remove?
The face could be graffiti, right?
Here's a dumb question for you, because I know people who like to go mushrooming.
Or blueberry picking.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's removing something.
No, you're not removing the tree or shrub, you're
The
just.
fruit, and
you're-
like
you're
a
removing the
flower.
fruit,
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
but I mean,
A
that says flower in there.
Yeah.
mushroom is considered a fruiting body.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't like the flowered one, because,
You wanna remove flower?
because when is it, flower, fruit? Someone picks the wildflowers that you plant? Or,
Yeah, I mean, technically, it would be nice if they leave them for the bees, but,
Yeah.
you know, we're not gonna chase after them if they, you know, little kids are gonna go in and pick those flowers, I know it, so.
And the lady slippers.
And that way, it doesn't get confused with berries or,
The ones that pick it and stuff.
So we're gonna remove
Fungi.
flower out of there?
What?
You wanna remove flower out of there?
I don't want to, but
Ah.
if it's the general consensus, I'm not gonna fight it.
I'd
Wha-
just as soon leave it in.
Yeah, why would we wanna remove it?
well, we're talking about berries.
No, I know, people pick berries, I pick blueberries.
That doesn't,
I
doesn't
think
say
it's-
you can't.
I think it's common sense, really. I mean,
It doesn't refer to any mast, how's that?
yeah, that's a big hole.
Well, I mean, I'm looking at the
It doesn't-
definition of deface, and it says spoil the surface or appearance of something, for example, by drawing or writing on it.
Yeah,
Yeah, like people carving in trees.
Oh.
Or
That's
spray painting the
defacing
rocks.
tree,
Yeah, so
like
that's
scraping the bark
defacing.
off.
So I look at, I see a plant, and I like, and I dig it up and walk away with it. Am I defaced? Yeah, you could say that, but maybe I've.
You've removed it.
Have removed the word
Have
deface.
removed it, though.
What if you
If you
use
pull a
alter?
petal off of it, you've defaced it.
And would damage or deface, remove damage or deface?
I think remove deface covers the basic.
What about if you were able to put it, like the word alter in there, but then include, gates and barriers, then you might be able to cover you're moving the rocks thing in there.
well, we could just say barriers, yeah.
It's true, because people have
Any
damaged
building equipment, barriers,
Gates.
trees,
the
shrub?
gates, right?
Obvious barrier.
No, the barriers are, the gates are a barrier and the rocks are a barrier.
And, rocks.
Good one,
tho-
Mike.
Those are used in lots of places as a parking barrier, as whatever,
Okay.
We're comfortable with that, that doesn't reflect to mast, right? So nuts, fruits, berries, things like that are okay to be picked. Okay.
I'm just curious, because you're talking about the flora, is there any prohibition from removing fauna at all, any animal life at all? Like, came across a nice turtle on the trail today, would've made a great pet for my son, but
Isn't that
I
considered
just turned
trapping?
him off the trail and put him back towards the pond, but do we specify you can't take the animals from the properties? Is there anything that says that?
I mean, unless they're dead.
I don't
For
know.
hunting, I mean.
Wouldn't that be considered
I
trapping?
mean, really.
I
other
didn't have to
than
trap it, I just
kill
picked
them,
it up.
but-
Well, yeah.
Well, what about fishing then?
Right.
Yeah, and fishing.
Fishing, you're removing.
Yeah, but you have to have a permit to do that.
You have like all the amphibians, those little red Fs are
So, I
everywhere.
mean, at some point, common sense has to come in.
No, it doesn't.
No.
I agree with you, but common sense, one, isn't common, and there's always gonna be some
It seems like
lovely
one of the
person
main
that's gonna
things-
try to find a way out of it.
Seems like one of the main things this board would strive to do is protect the animals that are there, right?
Yeah.
Maybe it's so common sense it was never even thought of.
No,
So you want to add that? No removing of animals
Wildlife.
except through legal hunting and fishing?
yeah. You can,
Yeah. Or
harassing
legitimate-
or removing.
Yeah,
wildlife.
or harassing them, exactly.
Harassing or removing wildlife.
I think we're starting to split hairs.
Yeah. We're getting way down the road.
I mean, I get.
You
not
guys were
removing-
talking about not picking the berries, so I was thinking about like the
That was
animals.
not me.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I get what you're saying. Somebody finds a snapping turtle and says, oh, hey, let's bring this home and put it in a tank. I wanna say that.
Yeah,
that might be
it
Well,
happens.
covered by-
when they're
That
this,
would
when
not
they're
be a
this
good
big, they look
idea.
really cute.
Oh, really?
Okay,
They still
right?
hurt like hell.
Yeah, they do.
They live for like 40 years.
You know, again, that might
And
be
they
covered. by
stink.
the
Dealing with
fishing
a
game.
situation
might be-
right now,
exactly,
we're
that
trying
might
to
be
find a home
covered
for
by
20-year-old
RSA.
snapping
It
turtle.
might be.
We
Right,
might
it may
wanna
very
look
well.
at
White
it
Pine
and see if
Swamp.
it's covered by-
Oh, you can't release them because they've been in captivity for
Okay.
20 years.
It's called snapper stew.
Ooh.
I'm glaring at you too.
snapper stew? You never tried it?
Oh, it's something else, man. It's
No,
yum.
you kidding me? Ew.
For the record, I have.
It's pretty good, isn't it?
It is
It's
pretty
really
good. It's pretty good.
Still trying to hide the 2 bunnies in my yard from my husband's friend who's from Italy and thinks rabbit is the best thing ever.
Oh, yeah.
No.
Okay, so we've covered the all.
The all covers 2 and 3.
Kind of almost looks that way now, doesn't it?
One,
Well, the minute we
Covers
said no
one.
discharge of firearms, you've kind of take hunting out of there.
Yep.
Boy, it's gonna be an
You
uphill.
know, I know that we've put on, well, I guess we said illegal dumping, which I'm looking at River and Brook and I'm thinking illegal dumping of chemicals or waste, but I guess that it's covered in illegal dumping.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, our all just basically absorb those.
It's part of the
I
goal
think we
of
should
this
still
whole
leave them
exercise.
as placeholders if we wanna add something in. Leave
So,
a category.
the number 2, what's the beef against duck blinds?
I just was having a little fun.
Cause we would have to take action at this point.
Yeah, there's a bunch of duck blinds, yeah.
And it's too bad because some of them are really cool. You can just sit there. You can really see a lot of neat stuff. When
Well,
you sit there quietly.
People from the Horse Hill Nature Preserve Subcommittee want more duck blinds.
Yeah.
Not to be used as duck blinds, but to be used as bird viewing blinds. But you can't say, hey, this one looks like a duck blind, this one, oh no, this one's just a bird viewing blind. It's the same thing.
Yeah. That's yeah. That's exactly.
But she's
it.
been building them
Oh, really?
out there for years.
Oh, I
Yeah.
didn't know that.
so get rid of that.
I mean, if we're gonna have no hunting, then I don't see what the problem with having a duck blind is.
Well-
I mean, I use them. I see them.
Did we arrive at no hunting? I didn't think we crossed that bridge.
Yeah. Look at. Yeah. Can you go back to the other page?
This is on some properties.
You're right, though. We did not arrive at no hunting. We arrived at no target shooting.
Well, that says no hunting.
Right. But I thought we discussed for the
Those are the
purpose.
111s though.
Well, no hunting can't be on all properties.
Well, it can.
We're trying to do the
It
all,
can.
that's
It can, right, but
It can, but
I thought this document replaces this one, right?
It will,
We're
yes.
making- okay.
Right. I just,
that's just like right now. If we accept that H, we just said no hunting.
correct. The way it's worded.
well, I thought we were putting except for legal hunting.
Yeah, that's an idea.
Yeah, I thought we got rid of H like we got rid of glass bottles and got rid of no alcohol.
So let's step back for a second. My understanding that I wrote in my notes is that we were gonna leave H, but we're gonna closet for target shooting, and not to stop hunting.
Right,
Okay, that's the way I took our conversation. Did I get it wrong?
that's the way I
No,
understand.
that's how I understood it.
Yeah.
Okay, all right,
So
so
it'd
that,
be except
that
for hunting.
means that we do need some of this, right?
Yeah.
So I think we're all in agreement that, well, we covered, did we cover baiting under all?
I think we discussed it as it's written within the laws of Fish and Game.
Okay, right. So then it's okay for me to just take these out?
I'm concerned with the no hunting along trails.
Mm-hmm.
That's
kinda-
ambiguous.
Yeah, very
Yeah.
gray.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what do we do about the people that throw birdseed out there?
I didn't do that.
They're baiting.
Yeah, they're baiting.
Out on our properties.
We could
to-
say no feeding the animals.
That's what I'm saying. I mean,
But-
is that considered baiting? Is that,
Can I put a worm on my hook when I go fishing?
Yeah.
Troublemaker.
I mean, we're saying baiting, you know, because in regards to hunting, and there's people that are baiting out there that are,
Yeah.
you know, capturing things with camera, looking and watching off their back porch.
Not on our conservation
Still shouldn't be
properties.
baiting on our properties.
Yeah,
Yeah, they
not
are.
on our properties.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah, I mean, we don't want baiting on the, if they're doing it in their yard, it's one thing.
Yeah, but I mean, there's some of these people, their yard backs up to
Yeah.
our property.
Well, the bait can be in their yard, but it can't be on our property.
Just telling you. That's what I'm saying. I'm not trying to argue. I'm just saying that
Yeah.
it is happening.
Yeah.
And I know they're not hunting on it. They're just,
Yeah.
Do we view it as a problem that we want to enforce, or are we okay with it? Are we gonna tolerate it, I should say?
because it's technically, it's baiting.
And some people will take roadkill and then set up those trail cams and just watch what happens. Watch the animals that come get it. I spoke to one woman about it, just the fact that she's throwing all sorts of birdseed out there. I was like, okay, you understand that's growing now. So you're introducing Yeah.
invasive species right there, and it's
Non-native
pretty obvious that it's right here. So she stopped, but she's planting wildflowers instead.
Flowers?
Huh?
Sunflowers?
She's wildflowers. I said, please get things that are non-invasive, things that are local.
Are we doing anything, or are we moving on?
Maybe it should fall under hunting, like something specific under that, like no baiting for hunting purposes. I don't know. Just throw it.
Sometimes I'm a believer in, if we had this problem, has it been reported to us already?
Yep.
And if it hasn't, then we've covered a lot of rules that we'd like to see. And if that problem should arise and become that significant of a problem, then this
Within a couple months, we can address it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the baiting thing is already redundantly covered in
Yep.
the hunting RSIs.
And technically, if you're baiting, you're supposed to get landowner permission.
Yeah.
We did have someone who approached me while I was chair about baiting bears on one of our property. And I explained to that gentleman the process he would have to go through by coming to a public meeting and discussing how he wanted to do it and where he wanted to do it and how he was gonna monitor the bait and all that. And he decided against coming out in public and having that discussion. I said, we're a public body, you have to do it in public. So I said, if you don't want to be, if you want to be discreet, then you should either do it on your own property or find a private landowner. And I'm assuming that's the route he took. So, okay, so is there anything under major property that we want to add here? Do you just want to leave the category for now and see if something comes out?
I don't think we need it.
Well, the major property, all right, plus, we're only on 2, we're not on 3 now.
Correct, we're only on, we're trying to see do we like 2 the way it's written now?
I mean, I think it's the hunting issue. Right? That's really what comes next. Because, like Gage said, you're either going to have it or you're not, but you're likely going to have it at some of those larger properties, I'm guessing.
I guess in this commission, we've discussed over the past year that I've been with it, well, actually not even a year, since April, excuse me. But it came up the concern of, you know, deer hunting season, and you've got hunters in the Horse Hill Nature Preserve, and you've got hikers, fall hikers in Horse Hill Nature Preserve. Could that be a dangerous combination, you know? So if there are, I think if there are other properties that are less traveled with formal trails, maybe you don't restrict hunting there, but maybe in some of our busier hiked areas, you do restrict hunting in those areas.
Well, I know there's been issues in the past with, must be duck hunting, you know, like,
Yep.
you know, that cul-de-sac pond in
Right.
BB Lane.
Yeah, you get a
That's
lot
really
there.
close to the houses, and it's quite a disturbance sometimes when they're shooting behind the houses, and, Paul, forgot his name, he marked,
Yeah.
was it 250 feet?
300.
300.
300 feet? Yeah,
You mentioned hunting off trails, though. I thought there was a rule, there was a certain number of feet or yards, or however it's measured by Fish and Game, from a trail. And a trail, more or less, at least in that area, behind BB Lane, follows the coast of that body of water. So
Pretty closely, yeah.
I would think, I don't know what it is, 100 feet or something, but it would seem to me you can't be at the water's edge there hunting behind their house.
So the duck hunters are usually either in the water,
Uh-huh,
in boats,
okay.
or in the blinds that are on the other side. Because that's where the ducks come in and land.
Sure. And I don't think there are trails on that side of the coast.
No.
Not super close to it, no.
So why would somebody have been shooting, it was the red shotgun shells on the Merrimack? Because when we were cleaning Sklar, Tina found some, like 6 shotgun shells. So would they have been target shooting across the river, or would
No,
they
they
have
were
been
shooting
duck-
ducks.
They were shooting ducks.
Yeah. Or geese,
Okay.
or
So
blue
that's
herons.
legal then?
Some
Keep going,
bird
Matt.
life
She's
is
gonna kick
legal,
you.
some aren't.
Don't give them any
Okay,
ideas.
so,
Don't want them-
so
don't
back
want
to
species
major
on them.
property, are we good?
Trust me.
Yeah.
Are we going to?
The only thing I could think it would ever do with it is either even change the name to it, say like, you know, busy property or congested property, and say no hunting. I mean, it's not, it's covered everything that was in it.
Yeah, or, you know, there became problems with dogs, so then we add the leash to the dogs, so, you know, something, but I think we should leave it open, because our major properties are our most visited properties.
How long has Horse Hill been around? I mean, I have a rough estimate, I remember when it was
So we
formed.
bought it in 2002.
Yep.
We formed a subcommittee at the end of 2002 and started our whole process and started building trails shortly thereafter.
And how many incidents have we had between hikers and hunters?
Reported to the police, probably 0.
0.
We've had a few instances where people have been alarmed by finding a hunter on the property.
Seeing a hunter,
Yeah.
but there was no bullets coming by or a
Not
near
that I-
miss or anything?
Not that I'm aware of.
Well,
So-
that happened, but you
Me.
didn't, you didn't report, and you didn't report that to the police.
Was that a hunter,
So-
Matt, or was that target?
Target
Oh,
shooters.
true, that was
Yeah.
right.
Right,
So
yeah,
to me-
you gotta be careful of the difference, right, because we had a huge target shooting problem on the
Yeah,
property.
I mean, to me, that's more of an issue than the hunting, and we've been around since 2006, and we haven't had an issue yet. I mean.
Reported issue,
Yeah,
Huh?
a reported issue.
Reported, but, you know, so I don't know, are we addressing something that isn't a problem yet, or?
Yeah, I guess the problem is, with that is, by the time it's a problem, somebody might be dead.
Well, I suppose, yeah, you can look at that, but.
Yeah, but that could happen tomorrow. That could happen,
be-
that could be a one-time incident that happens without any provocation, so I know what you're saying, but if it was something that's gonna escalate, then, you know, I would hope that any of us would be proactive enough to get to the police and let them know what's going on.
So hunting's allowed in Horse Hill?
Yes.
yeah.
What I can tell you is the number of hunters in Horse Hill significantly declined over the years.
And all the people.
With all the the
people.
bikes.
Yeah.
you know,
Right,
the-
right. The
what's
wildlife isn't there, or they're in very special areas. So, I mean, yes, if you look the records, I think there was a bear killed on Horse Hill last year. So, and I know there's been deer taken out of Horse Hill as well. So, but yeah.
Unfortunately, I think it would be hard to restrict the hours, because that would go against, so you could tell people, you don't have to worry if you're gonna go walk during these hours, but I think that would kind of be impossible to do. Personally, I don't feel safe going out there, and you know that they can hunt coyotes year-round, so there's no day you can go out there
They
when
usually
there's
go early,
nothing
though.
going on.
Yeah, they usually go
Not for
early.
coyotes.
Is
Really?
this something
night
to
hunting.
maybe better advertise, to talk to, and so you get a feel from the people in town to
So-
say, we are considering this, and we're asking for your input.
So when we went
The
through.
hunting, we don't have-
So it's been a number of years now, but when we went through this during the master plan in 2003 and 4, and then again during the definitive plan in 6 and 7 or something like that, we had a number of public hearings that were dedicated to the hunting issue. And at the end of the day, we came up with the language that we provided in the definitive plan, which allowed legal hunting. Because you'll get members of the local community, you'll get far more members of the hunting public outside of our community.
Yeah, and I guess I look back and a very thoughtful group formulated these rules back in 2006, and it sounds, to listening to you, Tim, that they did their research then.
Yeah,
And today, we have no formal reports of anything
Yep.
major happening, so I'm in favor of leaving the hunting rules as they are right now, and we can revisit, God forbid, but should something happen, and Gina, we can't, I agree with you, you can't predict what's going to happen or not happen, but that could happen for a number of issues for things
I
we
mean,
couldn't begin to address.
because you're gonna get statistics that will talk to the number of hunting incidences in the state of New Hampshire. And the number of hunting instances over the last 10 or 15 years, you can probably count on your hand, okay?
Although they're only like 5% of the population in New Hampshire.
Yeah.
So do they get to dictate the rules on all of our major properties?
So not all our major properties allow
All
hunting.
hunting.
So we have rules on some of the deeds, so not all our major properties allow it, okay? Horse Hill currently is one that does. Wasserman doesn't, okay? The Ireland property, I don't believe does. I have to go check it
Yeah,
again.
I don't believe so.
Wasserman does not.
Gilmore Hill does not.
Wildcat does not.
Wildcat Falls in the current
Oh.
Chapter 111 does not.
But we definitely don't want to direct more people to Wildcat, because it's already at capacity, right? That's why I haven't been going there, because there's already a lot.
Well, the parking lot's at
Parking
capacity.
lot
The
situation,
parking lot's
right.
at capacity. There are other access points that
Yeah.
aren't.
How do, and I'm saying this because we don't know the answer, maybe some of you folks do, but how do our other conservation commissions throughout the state handle this topic? Have we ever, I mean, you guys have been on a lot longer than I have, so.
Well, I could speak to a couple of them, because I know some of the folks, but they're same issues that we have, parts that are, publicly accessible and used. They try to limit the activities, like hunting and target shooting and other spots that are a little bit more remote. If there's a trail out there, they advertise the fact, this is a location where it's hunting is this available and target shooting, so they're just trying to educate the folks that are using it. That's, that's what we've tried to do, is, we have sections that are, we put up hunting signs, make sure you wear your orange blaze. Expect to see this in season, so.
Every day's
on
in
your dogs.
season.
Yeah, I think what he said is pretty much true. They've all had those issues, and they've all tried to use different tactics to inform all members of the public, whatever side they're on, so. But, it was big news a few years ago when the Londonderry property was. Musquash was
Yeah.
gonna be restricted to target shooting, and I think they ended up with what?
No, they didn't do anything.
Right, oh,
Still people target shooting right in the trails.
okay.
Yeah.
So, So,
Yep.
yeah, it's,
The selectmen won, the conservation commission lost, everybody quit the conservation commission. Now they
that's
hardly
right.
even have one.
Yeah, that's right.
That's too bad.
Yeah.
Yep, so, there you go.
It's a balancing act, I think, competing interests. I know at Joe English many years ago, a hunter shot a hiker's dog and didn't own up to it and left. And so stuff does occasionally happen.
Oh, I don't doubt it.
But hunting is still allowed there.
It's a busy place, too.
It is a busy place.
I-
Well, we can still define it as no hunting and just not assign any property to it, or assign it to any property. I mean, we can make it,
Well,
Well, it's already
Well, no.
assigned to 6 properties.
well, yeah, but we're, they're just gonna be covered by all for the most part.
I think Wasserman by default we know is no hunting. And you're gonna have a few properties because of deeds.
Yep.
And also just logistically, they're too small or there's too many trails, they can't be within regulations to hunt. I don't think you're gonna wind up with many left, so maybe the next breakdown under all is hunting or no hunting. Wasserman's gonna fall into the no hunting. And then you have the water specific ones that are left.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I thought when we bought Scalar that they were gonna put no hunting in there. Did that not
Might-
get in?
I don't know,
I
I
know we
sent you the
discussed
language,
it.
didn't I?
Scalar?
Yeah. Should be in there. I have to figure out what parcel ID it is. Or I can bring it up. Yeah. If I know the parcel ID, I can bring it up.
I think it's in the deed.
It's gonna be 4D something, maybe? Or is it 4?
Yeah, you're right, it's 4 something. I don't see it in here.
3D-1?
There it is. Current. Which one is current? Didn't open it up wide enough yet.
Is it even on this list?
3D.
Did I-
No.
Did I,
don't see
no,
it
the
listed.
Word document I sent out, did I include it there?
Oh, I'm looking at the Excel.
So we're looking for, what was it again, 3?
It said 3D on there.
3D-1 and then
3D-1-3?
it's sublot 3.
So this is the language that's in for 3D-1-3. Assurance protection of biological open spaces, groundwater surfaces, conservation, scenic enjoyment.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they said no hunting in this one.
Not harm federally recognized rare endangered species.
I thought we put the whole firearm, spring-loaded, air-powered comment in there.
Didn't see it there.
I mean, maybe it didn't make it in there, but I know we talked about it when we just voted
Yeah.
to purchase the property. We were gonna put that in, but maybe it didn't make it in.
I think that the
Thought-
seller put it in.
I thought there was something in the deed. I thought there
Yeah.
was.
Especially because we're calling it a park, and traditionally, there's no hunting in parks. So I don't want people to confused.
It's the first page.
Oh, bless you.
Bless you.
shall discharge any air-powered or spring-powered or any type of bow or
Oh, yeah.
firearm within, yeah. So there's no hunting on Sklar, or no discharge of any weapons. So, that precludes hunting or target shooting.
Yeah, the problem with that property is the town property is, you know,
Next
it's
to
like,
it.
yeah.
And it's
The
pretty
boat,
much,
yeah.
the town property is pretty much the road
Yeah, the road, the
And-
boat
And
ramp.
the loading dock, and the boat ramp.
and the field for the airplanes.
Yeah.
So where would you be shooting something? Because it also says or into the property, within or into the property.
Where were they target shooting? They were shooting out.
They were
They were
shooting at the,
hunting.
yeah. Well,
They were hunting along the river.
When
No,
you
but
saw
they
this
were-
show,
they were
before
target
they were,
shooting.
earlier they were target shooting, yeah.
Remember, there was
Oh,
like
sure.
Yeah,
a
yeah,
little-
they've been,
Oh,
they've
you
been,
mean that,
Yeah.
the area that we cleaned up?
yeah, they've been target shooting down there for a while, yeah.
Yeah.
But that was town parcel, that was the town property.
And they were shooting onto private property.
So I don't know what else is in that category.
Well, it's the thing, so major property,
No, I'm into river plus brook, because Galar's classified as river plus brook.
But the deed trumps whatever extra
Okay.
layer we
You're
put on
right,
top of
you're
it.
right. So Sklar is not in the right category, so we'll have to change it.
So would it be a major?
Major plus Wasserman.
And if there was other things
Yeah.
we were putting in the river plus brook that we wanted to keep it there, you know.
Yeah, we'll just have to
Yeah.
adjust, so. I mean, so everyone's homework assignment after this is to go through, you know, some of the covenants a little bit closer and make sure we're not missing something. If you so choose to wanna do that, and if you do, then I can give you advice on how to go about doing it.
so what's on, what do we have on here, all the deeds?
As of the last time Gina worked with the library and herself to put it all together, there are some deeds that are just not there yet. And
Okay.
I have to get with Gina, and we have to sit down, and I have to give you all that data. I have it rough hand written out, I just need to make it look better, presentable.
Okay, I didn't keep a disc, so at some point if you can burn a new disc for me,
Yeah.
that would be helpful.
Yeah, I can give
Thank
you back to Thumb Drive, actually,
Oh, okay.
so.
You sure?
Give me one later.
What kind of space is this,
I
what kind of
have one.
size is this?
Thank you.
It's less than a gig,
Oh, so it's not very big.
no.
Some money for the discs. I assume
Yeah.
you paid for those yourself.
I did,
Oh, and the thumb drives you guys gave out before.
so, I didn't,
Oh, she did that.
Yep.
No?
There's a story behind those.
Oh,
A
okay.
husband got him or something, yeah.
I have an off question. When I was looking through, I noticed that the White Pine Swamp doesn't have any restrictions. I'm wondering if we should put like no motorized on it. I mean, I haven't seen somebody in a motorboat on it. I did see a snowmobile this past winter, and if they crashed through into the wetlands, well, would that be a separate violation, I guess?
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
covered on
well,
a DES.
that's definitely a DES violation.
That would be, okay.
They have a limited amount of time to get it out of the water too.
Yeah.
That's a ticking fine that just keeps going up the longer it's there.
Mm-hmm.
So if they're irresponsible and they're out there on the ice when they shouldn't be because it's too thin or something, then that's a DES violation?
If they go through.
If they fall through, I mean.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've fallen through on White Pine Swamp walking,
Well, right, yes, yeah.
because there's so many weak spots there.
Right. But you
Good
don't
thing
have
I wasn't there.
any unsafe,
Mike can find every one of them.
Yeah,
Mike-
yeah,
Mike
right.
falls through everywhere.
But you're not releasing any contaminations,
No, we don't think so.
contaminants,
Yeah, you
right?
don't know.
Yeah, right.
Depends what I had for dinner the night
That's
before.
true. Depends on how far you fall and if you see a snapping turtle close by under the water, yeah.
Release some good vocabulary.
Yeah, right.
All right, sorry. Back to limitations by category, and then we can figure out which properties need to be in those
All right,
categories.
so we're just
Are
gonna.
we on to
ma-
3?
Major
We're on
property,
three.
major property
get
just
rid
gonna be
of-
nothing for right now.
We can get rid of the last line.
Yeah,
Oh, the e-bikes, yeah.
We already covered that.
And we're pretty much, now, so this is different. So snowmobiles, they're not OHRVs, they're not ATVs. Do we want to allow them on our properties except for where they're deed restricted or not?
At the winter carnival, they're always there.
Yeah, but they're not supposed to be going on the conservation property. I have spoke to Matt Caspiris about that. They are allowed on the park side of the property.
We do like them when they break trails and groom the trails for us. I mean, we could consider that a maintenance item too, so they can be covered under the escape clause, but
So right now, Horse Hill specifically allows snowmobiles.
yes.
And we allow snowmobiles specifically, well, by absence of discussion in Greater Woods.
Right.
Yeah, I thought generally we allowed them.
Yeah. Cause,
Typically don't tear up the trails, right?
Right.
yeah,
Like
I mean, cause,
Snow.
well, so the concept is, you know, someone who owns a sled, driving it on rocks and sticks, rips it up, rips up the undercarriage. So you really don't wanna do that. You wanna be on top of the snow. And normally you're out there riding when everyone's windows are closed. You know, in their houses, so
Oh.
it's, the noise is
Except if
usually,
you're walking.
well, yeah, yeah, but you get people that are, you know, driving irresponsibly.
Mm.
You know, right back into a speed issue. But the amount of damage they do is typically much less than a road, you know,
Yeah.
on-road vehicle.
I don't know of any issues. I haven't heard of one since I've been
Yeah.
in town with a snowmobile. But you know, like you said, we've had our part posted and they've been over there. Is that an issue? I don't know.
Didn't we have issues with some people from the Parker Drive area accessing the not Horse Hill, but Greater Woods?
It was
Snowmobiles?
the same guy that was going in there with a quad had a snowmobile, and that was his excuse for I can go in there with my quad. I go in here in the winter in my snowmobile.
Mm.
So we were allowing the snowmobile, but when we said you can't have the quad in here, he said, well, I go in here in the winter in my snowmobile. It was like, but it's different.
Mm.
And
So
at that
it's-
time, the police had to explain to him the difference.
So it could be confusing if you say no motorized vehicles,
Right.
then you allow snowmobiles.
There's a legal definition, I mean.
Yeah,
it's
that's,
Casper
that's why we're
College.
sticking to with the OHRV, cause the
Mhm.
snowmobiles are excluded from that.
And that's why we had to have the additional signs made for that one
Mm.
gentleman
Oh.
that said no motorized wheeled vehicles.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Oh, that was.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we posted a line of no motorized wheeled vehicles
Yeah, yeah.
because he challenged us on
Right
our,
behind his house.
about 40 of them.
I know what you're talking about.
So we got it.
So are we getting rid of no snowmobiles on number 3?
No, we can't, because those are deed restricted,
Oh, okay,
okay?
all right.
Just like on Sklar, no snowmobiles are allowed if you, the wording we just had up precluded them. So some properties deed restricted.
So do we need to add major property plus Wasserman plus Sklar to number 3?
No, I was calling that a category, because lack of a better term for it,
Okay.
right? I'll pick a better
We
name later.
can work on a better name.
Yeah.
It's just a placeholder for now.
So we've kind of handled the discharge of, well, that, yeah. Under all, but it's more restrictive for the Wasserman properties, the discharge of firearms, because you're not allowed to do it at all.
Right.
We are gonna allow hunting on others at this current time, so. All right, I think 3 stays the way it is.
Yep.
Okay. So, River and Brook, I really struggled with this, whether or not to even have anything. Cause I'm not sure we have a problem anywhere.
So
Yeah.
passive recreation pretty much is the same as number 3?
Well, no, number 3 also disallows any discharge of firearms in any way.
That's passive recreation? Yeah, okay, yeah, all right,
You could argue
yeah.
it's different. so.
Okay.
But I was thinking that we probably don't want gas-powered vehicles close to rivers and streams, but does that mean I can't drive down to the Griffin Boat Launch and drive my boat into the water, right? Or can I not run my boat and tie it to a tree that's on our conservation property on the river, right? Don't know. So,
Well, you don't want vehicles driving through the brooks, right?
correct, yeah.
So,
But
Yep.
technically, that's a violation of a wetland rule by the DES, so,
Yeah, but river and brook, so river is the Merrimack River.
right, well, the South.
And we, or the Sauhegan, and well, the Merrimack in particular, there's a boat landing. We can drive down there and,
But what
Right up to the
river do
water's
we
edge.
have authority over as a commission in this town?
We don't have authority over any rivers or streams in this town.
So then maybe we should eliminate
We-
that category?
We only have authority over the properties that abut rivers and streams.
It's for the
Or-
properties
or
that
the
run along
islands,
it.
or the islands that are in a river, because we own 2 islands in the Merrimack River.
Okay.
No, sorry, 3 islands in the Merrimack River.
Looks at me.
Yeah, one by your house, that's why I looked at you.
Oh.
Another one, another
that's
2
private island. That's
Yeah.
a private island.
That's private island. It only takes a good hop, skip, and a jump, and you're on the island too. At least when the river's down. So I was suggesting that if it's a property abutting the river or stream, you might not want to allow gas-powered vehicles. I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there. I'm not sure we have an issue anywhere with that,
It's not really,
except for at the boat launch,
right.
where we have abuse of.
Right,
Things.
and we have it at Scalar,
Yeah. Yeah, but that's already covered here.
yeah,
Sklar already has passive owner,
right.
so.
Where does Fields Farm fall with that? Would that be one?
Their
um,
deed is very restrictive.
Their deed's very restrictive.
Excessive.
Yeah, so that's kind of a mixed one. It does abut the river though, you're right,
Yeah.
yeah.
Because we discussed that, because it's already in the deed about no
No,
motorized,
no motors at all.
yeah, so, and we already looked into the fact of whether we feel that included, if we put a road in there, can you drive down the road?
Yeah.
Because we were thinking of putting a boat landing down there, so we're gonna make people schlep a canoe 800 yards, or they're gonna drive down and be able to pull it off their car.
So do we have anything do we wanna leave River and Brook the way it is and then put appropriate language? I can legalize passive recreation? Is that,
Yeah.
I mean, we have a lot, we have a ton of property that is wetlands. We're right there,
absolutely. Yeah,
so I think it's a mistake to not have something for them.
okay. Yeah, a lot of along Babusick Brook is truly wetlands. It absorbs the brook when it swells and all that stuff, so. Okay,
So for River and Brook, because I'm thinking about people that live in areas, there were a couple of lots in particular that I think were abutting, and people were bringing stuff and just kind of throwing, and if stuff washes down. So we have all trash to be removed or carried out. I guess it would be redundant to say something like, no dumping yard waste or something like that.
No
Nope.
dumpings in all.
Yeah. Hopefully people realize that. I'm just thinking of people that take their
Lawn clippings.
Oh, you mean,
Yeah.
do people realize that is
Yeah.
dumping
yeah,
versus?
because their argument is, well, it's biodegradable.
Right.
Well, no, it's not, because you put chemicals on it. Now it's in our water.
you could call it litter.
Mm.
Yep.
That's what we would call it, litter.
Mm.
It wasn't intended to be there.
Right.
Okay, So I created the well property item. I wasn't really clear there. I was almost wondering, do we want to invite MVD to provide some input as to what they might want to see in the ordinance for properties that are either part of or,
That would make sense.
Because they're gonna be interested in what we have for all, because a lot of their, especially the well properties, they're building pump houses.
yeah.
So they're building structures out there, and there's gonna be power, there's gonna be equipment, material, and needed upkeep.
So the defacing
Yeah.
buildings becomes very,
Yep. Oh, no.
Yeah.
Oh, potentially. Okay.
All right. So I will invite MVD to weigh in. So it's coming up on 9 o'clock. Do you want to delay to our next meeting the discussion of which properties go in these categories?
I think we've changed it pretty dramatically. I'd like to kind of go back over it, because we just made all pretty encompassing.
Yep.
But that's my opinion.
I would agree. Okay. For next meeting.
Thank you very much, Tim and Gina, for
Yep.
all the work you guys have done. It's a lot of work. Mhm.
Tim, if we're gonna revisit that, how can we use this to contribute to the process? You said you had some tips.
So on that DVD, what you're gonna find, let me show you visually. Hold on 1 sec. I'm not used to driving with a mouse on the Mac. I'm used to using my fingers. So on the DVD, you have these upper documents here, which is except for this one, this is our update today. So I'll send that out to everybody, okay? But you pretty much have the restrictions that are on parcels. That's what I emailed you. You have the latest rev of the Excel spreadsheet. Remaining deed issues, I'm not sure I gave that to you yet, because that's the document I'm working on for Gina to go back and get some more stuff. You do have restrictions on parcels, either as that, but then what you have is you have a directory with all the different parcels. And in the parcel, what you're gonna find, come on, open says me. You'll see a document that we used as a log. So when Gina was going through, she was looking for specific information, and this is how she logged what she found. Now, that log document varies a little bit over the parcels as she learned, as things went through, so it got better over time. What you'll see is the current deed, and then you'll see snippets, because here, I'll bring one of them up. I had one up earlier, is since we didn't get the deeds officially, we had to go to the website to grab them. She did snapshots off the webpage to have them, because we couldn't, it turned out to be rather expensive to go off and get them all in true PDF form. Now, we can get specific ones if they're not readable. And if you'd like to go read the deeds online, I'm happy to explain how to do that, but probably not here in this meeting, because it'll take a few minutes. But if you should decide you want to do it, you can call me and I can walk you through it. So, or Gina can walk you through it too.
I can walk you through it too.
So what you'll see is the deeds, but they're gonna have these watermarks all over them, okay? Some of them are easier to read than others, so you can actually read the current deed, and you can usually read the previous deed, and if the property was part of a site plan, you might be able to read that. We went back at least one deed level back, or looked at site plans, because sometimes restrictions are designated in site plans. I don't think we've really had any instances of that, though, now that I recall. It turns out that most of the site plans are pretty tame. They didn't have a lot of restrictions in them. So they're similar to when we see projects come to us. We see the site plans, okay? And some of them may have had fertilizers or how they were going to do culverts and stuff like that, but nothing real restrictive, so. Some of them site plans do designate easements like PSNH or utility easements, which we didn't pull all the copies of those because those are rather, I don't think those are pertinent to the conversation here, looking at PSNH easements, so, or telephone company easements and whatever else, so. So you should find, you know, current deed, previous deed, a site plan if it's applicable, and maybe other information that's all related here. So this is fairly typical of what you see here. The thing that happened is the current deed, Gina and the library, for the pieces they did, utilized what the town provided us from the assessor's office as the current deed. Well, it turns out what they called the current deed or current sale was the most current legal activity that went through New Hampshire deeds. So it might not, the current deed for the current landowner, which is us, may have been surpassed by an easement that was put on after us. So therefore, Gina maybe found the easement or found that, but didn't find the actual current deed.
So I
there's a
should go back and look for those.
And I have all the records. I know which ones you need to look for.
Okay.
That's what I'm trying to get
Okay.
for you, okay? Like I said, I got it handwritten. I need to turn it into something that is human readable, beyond me. And you can argue whether I'm human or not later.
I was looking at your notes when you were taking notes, and I'm like, I hope he can translate that.
Oh, no.
Yeah. It's in my own scribble.
I did work up something for the library to show them how to access the,
Oh, you did? The
yeah,
deeds?
well, yeah,
Hampshire
so
deeds?
let me find that, and that could be helpful.
Yeah.
If that's helpful, I'll send it out to everyone.
Okay.
Please, yeah.
Right. So, 'cause if you go to the New Hampshire deed sites, you can see them in more clarity on your own computer. And if you're like me, you know, sight limited, I have a big monitor now, so I can really see.
It's much easier to see, because what you can do is you can put it to 150%.
Right.
And then you can actually read it. I mean, I tried to snip as much so that you can read as you can, but it's not easy.
So I'm hoping by our next meeting that we'll have an update to this CD, DVD, that will have all the true deeds and all that stuff. Now, if you want to have an inkling whether or not you have the right deed or not, look at the Excel spreadsheet, because in my comments column, some of them I'll tell you got the wrong deed. The real deed is found at book and page here, but I also put a comment whether or not there's a restriction that's in the real deed or not. Now, I'm not sure that we missed any real restrictions, okay? So, even by grabbing the wrong deeds.
So were there a lot that were not the right deeds?
There's like 10 of them of the
Okay.
60.
Okay, so that's not that bad.
Yeah, so.
Could be worse.
So, but I did have some of the deeds or some of the restrictions, so I got them in full PDF, and you'll find them in here. So I have the school easement over in Greater Woods, that school property in Greater Woods. There's certain restrictions for the school easement parcel that are gonna be different. So that one parcel in Greater Woods has a different set of rules and will be treated probably different in our ordinance, so. And then I got the Wasserman one in there, which I think I've shared with all of you already, so.
Yeah, because
And
the
a few
ones that you
others.
sent us had a lot of pages, so
Yeah.
that would not be good for snipping.
Right, not good for
Copy.
snipping, so I found some of the real ones so we didn't have to snip,
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, thank
Alright.
you.
Yep.
Thank you very much.
Kill that.
All right, so we're gonna continue that on to the next meeting on the 15th, July. Turn that thing off, it's generating heat too.
Oh, yeah.
One more time. It should say it's shutting off, but you just can't see it.
Oh, searching.
Yeah, you gotta hit it more than once, yeah, one more,
Powering down.
one. Yeah, okay.
All right.
Think it's gonna be 80 in here by the time we get done?
No, it's not going down much.
No,
That's for sure.
keep going up.
Oh, wow.
The pictures are falling off the wall. It's so hot.
Yeah, even the pictures are sweating. Yeah, I don't think it did it.
There you go.
All right, all right, we can go into other business. The subcommittee updates. Do we have any?
No, we're not meeting till August.
Well, we haven't met yet, we meet next month, or so.
So, while we're on Horse Hill, a group is planning to do some work in there on the Blodgett Hill Trail, and it would be great if we could have some trail hardening material, some stone, something. Is this something you think DPW would
We can ask.
deliver for us? See, I'm telling you, stuff's falling off the wall.
It really is falling off the wall.
Is this a biking club group or?
It's the bike shop that's putting on the demo this coming weekend.
So what are you looking for and where?
It would be great if they could dump it like where the culvert is on the access road into the loop trail.
We're gonna have to give them a map and an X. And, because that's the only way for them to know. You do like a screenshot or something of the trail and say this is, or,
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, or post marker or something.
yeah,
Yeah, I
something so we can say here.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't translate well to the access road, take a,
Yeah.
go a couple,
So like where signpost 2 is for Blodgett Hill Trail,
Yeah.
like right before that somewhere.
How much do you need? A couple yards, more?
same stuff that we put down in the,
Yeah, so,
same stuff we put down in Greater Woods on the trail?
yes.
Yeah, we can ask. That's,
Because we have a volunteer group doing it. Hopefully the town will
Yep.
see benefit in, like they did with hauling out the trash that we picked up on World Environment Day. You know, we've got a volunteer group saying, we want to help out with your trails. So if we could get some hardening material, that would be great.
How are they gonna haul it in, Matt?
Wheelbarrow.
not DPW, they'd be able to just go drop it.
Oh, yeah, but
Yeah,
I mean,
okay.
from there to
Right.
move it up the.
Yeah, it is no other way. Now, you could use a power wheelbarrow, so. Yeah.
You guys, you can
Kind of
do me a
motorized wheel
screenshot, send me a
vehicle.
screenshot or something, a little, right where you want it,
Yeah.
that thing? That'd be helpful.
Yeah, we've wheeled stuff pretty good distances into Horse Hill, haven't we?
Uh-huh.
My arms felt it too.
I've carried bridges in
Yeah.
to the middle of the property. Yeah. There's been some stuff hauled out there.
We've also hauled cars out of there too, so, in pieces, of course.
There's still 2 cars in
I
there.
know there are, yes.
No, you can't take some of them out now, they're become, trail markers,
A lot of people get lost.
Yeah. Take it off the car. All right, so that's the only subcommittee update we've had
Miscellaneous.
since that last meeting. So we have the minutes. We wanna go over the minutes? Now that we have 3 of you competing for the spelling bee?
Spelling.
Motion to approve the Merrimack Conservation Commission meeting minutes dated June 3rd, 2019 with changes as follows.
Second.
Motion by Gina, second by Cindy.
I only found one thing, and I don't even know if it's a thing. It's on page 3.
Rule 49?
Yeah, that's it. What were you gonna say?
Yeah.
They're there.
Same thing, right there, yeah.
Yeah,
That be parking area or parking
yeah,
lot?
parking lot, I was gonna say.
Yeah, that's all I found.
Okay. All right, show us up.
I only found one thing too, and it wasn't that.
Oh.
Page 1, line 39.
Page 1?
Yeah, the front page. Noted by the town was work done in the rear of the property. I think you need to add the word which disrupted the buffer to the condominium association. But maybe not.
Yeah, which or that or
Yeah, which or-
something, something.
Good. We stand corrected.
What are we saying, which or that?
Either one. Why not fussing?
I like that.
Which. He's like I said which, we're gonna use which. Any other comments, corrections? All right, all those in favor? Passes 7-0-0. Commissioner comments? Cindy? No? Matt?
The next Greater Woods meeting is July 9th, which is before our next Conservation Commission meeting. It's Tuesday, July 9th, and it's not here, it's at the outdoor classroom behind the middle school.
That's right.
Your thing wasn't on?
July 9th.
Outdoor
Greater
classroom.
Woods Conservation Commission meeting is, our subcommittee meeting is at the outdoor classroom behind the middle school.
Bring your bug spray.
Yeah.
You got anything, Tim?
No, just wish everyone here and watching a happy and safe 4th of July. So,
Pete?
Nothing really to add. We had our council retreat today, but nothing jumped on the radar for the Conservation Commission. So, and I had nothing, really, we didn't have anything to bring to them, so I didn't, and so.
Good. I like being under the radar. It's a good place to be. Like,
Nothing for me.
Gina?
The only thing, and I sent an email about it, was the shell casing that we
Yes.
found at Wildcat Falls, so I don't know if I need to bring that up or if I've already said enough about it.
No, everyone got a copy of it, and the chief is, chief's aware of it, and,
Yep.
and they are in possession of the shell, so.
I believe the chief commented that they looked at it and they think it's a caliber from a handgun.
Yes.
How is the flowers?
As far as I know, they're popping right up. I will go up and take a look.
Plenty of rain.
Plenty of rain. I haven't had to go up in water, so I've been really happy. Liz said that, that everything's popping up. Not a lot will bloom this year.
Right.
The annuals will bloom, but the perennials won't bloom
So far, the garden's a success.
so far.
Cool. Mike?
Yeah, just like to give a big thank you to the volunteers, Anheuser-Busch and Mark Todarski that came out. With the heavy rains the night before, I was concerned we wouldn't be able to fill up the DPW, and thanks to DPW too, fill up their truck because some of the roads were flooded, the side roads
This
there.
is the Scalar property.
The Scalar
So-
property, yep. But had no problem filling up
Yeah.
the truck. Real, and there were new tires dumped where they were able to drive through, where they pulled the rock, along not far from the river. But, so.
I think we're only missing one sign. Was that one
Yeah.
that's going towards Patterson's property? That's the only one that I can really think of it's gone.
Yeah, but the cleanup worked out really well, and, I mean, we weren't able to get to a few places because of the flooded roads, but we still got plenty done.
Right.
Mosquitoes ate well that day.
The mosquitoes ate well.
Vinegar. I don't have anything, so I'm good.
Motion to adjourn?
Motion by Cindy, second by Matt. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, passes 7-0 at 9:11. Thank you.